OTB AM. This is OTB Sports Radio.
All right, you're very welcome along this Friday morning to OTB AM. We're here with you all the way until 9:30. It's Ireland's Sports Breakfast Show, and we're here on youtube.com/offtheball. We're on twitter.com/offtheball. We're on facebook.com/offtheball. The best place to get us all, though, is offtheball.com. Our guest this morning, Michael Quinlivan and Kieran Donaghy. How you doing?
Not too bad, Ger. Good, Ger. How's the farm?
Nice and tan there, Kieran. Were you away for a while?
I was.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Very good.
It's not out of a bottle.
Anywhere nice?
Lanzarote. First time out there, yeah, so we had a lovely spot where we stayed with the kids and stuff, so yeah, lovely break, yeah.
Very good, yeah.
Yeah, in the pool every day. There was slides in the hotel.
Right, great.
So my two didn't come out of the water, so hence I didn't come out of the water too much. Yeah, it was good crack.
That's great. How nervous are you at the moment about what's going to happen this weekend?
Nervous wouldn't be really something that's kind of coming to mind, because nervous kind of comes with when you're kind of expected to win and you should win, and that's when nervousness comes into it. But excited and hopeful for what should be hopefully an entertaining game with some of the calibre of players we've in the pitch. I think it's, you know, if Dublin don't come out and start like a whirlwind and do what they did to Mayo in the second half, once they don't, because I'm sure they're going to be targeting that to put this to bed, because I think they'll have learned from Kerry in '82 and don't let a team hang around. It's a saying we always have in basketball: don't let a crowd hang around, because if they're there with a chance late on, you know, you could just have that feeling where, you know, what happened to us in 2011 is a perfect example of what kind of needs to happen for Kerry.
Sit back and defend. Bring the wave on. Doesn't really work, does it?
No, it doesn't. Yeah, they'll have to go. Dublin will be going for the jugular early, I think.
Michael, ordinarily you're rushing off to get to like a proper high-powered job at around about 8:30, but today you're rushing off to get a bus or a car down to Electric Picnic.
Yeah, I'm driving down to Electric Picnic this afternoon. I'd normally probably have been on the road at this stage, but we're glamping this year, so I don't have to worry about putting up a tent, thank God.
That's why there was mad queues in. We were coming in this morning around about 6 o'clock, big queues of people getting onto buses. That's to make sure that they get somewhere to put their tent.
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, very good, okay.
Down and get yourself the best spot.
Yeah, Tommy has an image here of where you're staying, apparently, for people watching. Oh, look, it's a Shangri-La.
Yeah.
You're like one of those bedroom princes.
No, it's probably a step up on that, I'd say.
Yeah, wait till there's 10 of them jumping around with mucky wellies on top of that bed. It won't be.
Most of the players who reach the All-Ireland final are always complaining that they don't get to go to the Electric Picnic, but unfortunately you've been able to go for many years now.
Yeah. I missed the hurling final in 2016 as well, because it was at Electric Picnic. So it's been the 5th year in a row. I've had a lot of time there. Right, okay. I don't think we've ever had the issue of getting to September, unfortunately.
And is there no club championship on? Is that not supposed to? Is that club championship not designed to just prevent people from going to Electric Picnic?
There's hurling this weekend. It's grand.
Okay, it's actually a constant battle, I'd say, with club managers all over the country. This Electric Picnic, like there's WhatsApp messages and groups flying in, like, you know, lads, leave off Electric Picnic. We've bigger things to worry about in a few weeks. So I think that's going on in most squads at the moment.
It's always debatable, though, isn't it? Like, because there's
a hard one.
Times you can go and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, it's a hard one. Yeah, but you know, fellas can go up and not drink and listen to the music.
It's true, exactly.
And enjoy yourselves, right?
That's what most people do. Well, make sure you come over and check us out for Dadcasts at Saturday at 1:30 in Trailer Park in the Who Let the Dads Out section, or then actually you can go and watch Kevin Kilbane DJ at about 9 or 10 o'clock in the Tap House with surprise special guests who are actually probably way better than Kevin. And he won't mind me saying that either. All right, so I'm going to give you an opportunity to win our sensational prize. It's your last chance today, and so what is it, 7:30 now, 7:36. You've got to enter by about 9 o'clock if you want to have a chance of winning this today, but we're giving away, with thanks to Dominic Smith, Expert Electrical, to mark the launch of their exclusive new TV and home entertainment showroom, which offers the latest TV and home entertainment solutions. That's a television on the wall there. That beautiful piece of kit, skinny and slim and pretty, is a 65-inch Sony Bravia OLED AG9 smart TV from the new Sony Masterclass series. And it's worth about $4,000. There's also a home entertainment system to go with it as well to make sure that it sounds as good as it looks. Anybody who's entered this week is going to be in for the draw. This morning is your last chance to enter. Just share today's show wherever you're watching or listening and use the hashtag OTBAM. You can send us a comment with your prediction for this Sunday. Give us a score if you can, and we'll pick out a winner from all of the entries we've had across the course of the week. Dominic Smith, Expert Electrical, is one of Ireland's leading premium electrical and home entertainment retailers. We've got a brilliant show lined up for you. Here's what's coming up. So we're going to do the sports pages in 2 minutes, and we'll get Shot Clock Special, which is actually Tactics Board today, analysis of who we think is going to end up marking who in the All-Ireland football final. And we're going to talk about that for a good half hour. Killian Burns is going to join us to maybe sing for us a little bit around about 8:30. He's written a ballad about how Kerry are going to stop the 5-0. That's what it is, isn't it?
It's more of a Shanachie telling a story than a song, yeah.
Okay. A Pishog. Is that it? A Pishog? Isn't that what Killian does?
He's a storyteller anyway. That's what I know. That's all I know.
He's a two-time All-Ireland winner as well.
Yeah.
A cornerback on Paddy's first team.
Yeah, in '97. Yeah, I might hop that off him. Actually, he was a part of a team that kind of came through. To all win their first All Ireland, which there's 17 fellas from Kerry in that position on Sunday. So.
Do you see what they're doing? They're like just putting in place the little architecture that all the players it's the glory of tradition that they can lean back on that kind of stuff, and they get that story out, and then that gets shared around the WhatsApp group of the young lads who are like, oh, they did it, we can do it. And that what you're doing? You're just talking
maybe
talking the whole county into a belief.
There's a message going on here.
That's how it works. That's
sports psychologists tell you about it.
That's the benefit of tradition. And then Alan Quinlan's going to join us to talk to us about the rugby tomorrow, which Warren Gatland has managed to stoke the pot. I didn't think it was possible that you could stoke the pot ahead of a meaningless pre-season friendly, but Warren Gatland has managed to pick a fight with Ireland again, offering to derail our World Cup host by killing us on Saturday. So we'll see what Alan Quinlan thinks of that. That's coming up a little bit later. We're going to get to the papers right after this.
The Off the Ball Open tees off in Abu Dhabi this November 17th to 23rd. Join us with return flights from Dublin, 5 nights in a 4-star hotel, golf on 2 championship courses, gala awards dinner, Peter Lorre golf clinic, and a live off-the-ball roadshow, all for just €1,750. Kevin Kilban, Kieran Donaghy and Connor Sketches will be there too. The Off the Ball Open, Abu Dhabi, this November. Limited number of early bird places remain, so book now at CassidyTravel.ie. Deposit of €250 required. Terms and conditions apply.
Okay, yeah, if you want to get in touch with us this morning, you can use the hashtag OTBM. Are we going to show that picture? Is now the time to show that picture? Okay, we'll give you 2 seconds for that. In the meantime, we've been running a World Cup of best Dublin and Kerry players over the last 25 years. I don't know what the hell happened to voting yesterday, but it finished with an all-Kerry final. Do you know who's in it?
I know there was Maurice Fitz. The last thing I saw before I went to bed is Maurice Fitz was killing Tomas O'Shea, I think.
So was it quarter semi-final? Okay, that was quarter. He won the whole way through to the final. So it's him versus Gooch. No room for Dermot Connolly in that, which I think is just shocking. But anyway.
Yeah.
Forwards always have an edge in that.
They do.
The inside forwards.
Yeah.
Who are you going to vote for?
Who would I vote for?
You've got 5 minutes left because we're closing the polls. So. It's
a tough one.
Come on, vote. Who are you voting for?
I missed Maurice Fitz. He would have been just before. Probably I start watching, so I'd probably go with Gooch. But that's more of what I'm after seeing.
Yeah, I saw so much of Gooch in training too. I didn't see the Maurice in training was supposed to be ridiculous. Some of the stuff that he'd do would have been, I suppose, what I witnessed with Cullen. Cullen would do some stuff in training where you'd kind of be talking about it on the way into the dressing room with a random player walking in. Just
what
see
kind
that
of stuff? Like
just flicks, and he did. The time he did it actually once in a game against Meath, I think, in the semi-final, where he was kind of on the ground and he picked it up with his feet and into his hands, and he was doing stuff like that. And I remember before the 2014 final, when he was coming back from the cruise ship, when he was kind of supposed to be gone for like a year and 14, 16 months, the surgeon was telling him, and 6.5, 7 months later he's training with us and he's floating around and there's nobody really knows what's going on with him, and he wouldn't tell you because he's an intrepid. You can't figure him out really, and he tagged out for the semi-final replay in the Gaelic grounds, which was a good boost for us. We still didn't think he'd play, but then we were having a trial game before the final against Donegal, the last trial game, the Saturday before the final, and he kind of came on for like 20 minutes, and he'd a pass from outside the scoreboard in Killarney. He was out on the terrace side and got a ball and did a little swivel, and Darren O'Sullivan had peeled back door, and he just put this outside of the boot pass that literally took 4 or 5 defenders out of it. Darren caught it and just rolled it into the net, and it was kind of like, okay, is there actually... Yeah, there's time. Hold on a minute. We may need something like that against this Donegal team on Sunday. So, yeah, no, he did stuff in training, which was crazy. So he'd probably get my vote.
Did he make the matchday squad for the final? So if
he was number 27 again, he was. Yeah, I think they kind of kept it pretty much the same. But there was something done where he was kind of like eligible to come on. I don't know what way they did that.
They were going to break the rules if they needed to. It was like,
kind of like that we were understanding in a way that he was, and I think he was ready to, like if needed.
Emergency.
If needed be, because he would have been some lift to the Kerry fans if that was us a point down with 5 minutes to go. He would have been some lift.
Dara Shea's column this week was talking about the start of the All-Ireland final and how you need to kind of lay down markers and you need to push the line as far as you can go, and you might be able to get away with some stuff in finals or in big games like this that you're not usually able to get away from. And this picture cropped up in our feed this week. This is what are you doing here, Kieran?
Oh man, I just popped my groin literally 2 minutes, about a minute before that, and I was going off. So I was trying to get off the pitch. So Kieran Kilkenny came running at me, and he sidestepped me, and I kind of was just trying to stop him. I was goosed. My race was run. I was gutted actually, because I'd hurt the groin, and I had this thing in my groin where sometimes I just feel a little pop, and it'd take like 8 or 9 days for it to go away before I could kick a ball again. And
hernia, basically a mini hernia.
Yeah, it happened me before the Kildare quarter final in
Croker, the one you
in
scored
15 when I was 15 when I was captain. In the kick round in training, the last drills, going through on goals and pulled the leg back to let one go, a rifled effort as usual, and I just felt something going and realised pretty quickly that I couldn't kick the ball after that, and I had to pull out of the squad for that Kildare game. And
luckily they didn't play well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There were 7 goals in. I was sitting there kind of going, Jesus, what a game to miss. It would have been a good one to be out there. But yeah, just before that game, and I was very doubtful that I'd actually make that game. I went out to my nan's grave, and I was even asking her for help. So it was almost desperate measures for me to get back. But I got back, and I didn't kick a ball from the Tuesday night until the warm up before the game on Sunday. I didn't even risk it on the kick round on the Saturday night. And yeah, everything was going grand. I actually played a good first half, and I was moving well enough around the place, and sat down at half time, made a cardinal error, and just
cool down,
and I was sucking air, because we just gone 5 points up, and it was kind of a hectic kind of first half, and we knew that there was going to be a big push in the second half by Dublin, and yeah, so I sat down and didn't really move until we got up to go, and made my first run early in the second half, and felt the tightness happen, and then like 5 or 6 minutes later, gone. And that was when I was trying to get off. I was trying to get off the pitch at that stage, and
right.
So yeah.
Could you just analyse the tackle technique for us a little bit, if we could stick that back up?
Yeah, I think if Joe Smith wants me to go to Japan, there's a few All Blacks could do with a bit of that treatment.
Is this what they call a forwards tackle? Is this?
It's very much a forwards tackle. It's a
lad on a Sunday morning who doesn't want to play a challenge match.
Yeah, it'd be good if I was coming from his side, the side I'm facing there, but I was actually on the other side when I tackled him, and kind of I jumped as he was going around me, so I kind of did a full kind of pirouette around him, but his facial expressions is good too. It's kind of like,
that's a brilliant photograph.
Get this fella off my back, please.
Yeah, that's
and I knew it. I knew my race was run, so it was time to get somebody in there that could actually move.
You need to get that framed, right?
No, I don't.
The papers this morning, 7:47 on OTBM. The papers this morning. Brian Kerr is on the back of many of the papers, talking about a couple of emails that he received from Noel Mooney, and the headline on the Sun is like something from the Soviet era. Emails were just baffling. I asked him not to contact me again. Brian Kerr has revealed he has been offered a way back into the FAI, but he rejected it as off-the-wall stuff. Kerr was left unimpressed by emails from interim general manager Noel Mooney. I've had contact from Noel Mooney, who was seated about 3 rows back from me at a Pats game. Just need to go into the inside to get the rest of this. at the Europa League game. He said he was disappointed I wasn't going to the presentations that Niall Quinn and Kieran Lucid were making at Abbottstown on the following Saturday. I wasn't available. Then I got 2 emails from him that were just baffling. When I got the second one, I said, don't contact me anymore. He says they weren't appropriate, and then the details kind of came through, and I think one of the other papers has some more detail. He suggested I may have a role being a media watchdog in the future. It was bizarre. My reply was, I don't know what a media watchdog is, but it sounds like something from the Soviet era.
What is a media watchdog?
I guess it's like, I don't know. I mean,
watching what they're saying about Ireland, or that he has to put out stuff, or
like, just be a voice of reason for us. I don't want to speculate about what Noel Mooney intended for.
Okay.
And yet at the same time, it's hard not to, right?
Yeah.
It's like, well, what is a media watchdog?
Yeah.
And then the other one, the Sun, they're having crack this morning. Warren Gatland, we can derail Ireland's World Cup. And I was like, holy shit, what's he talking about here? But actually, when you read the quotes, they're not. Well, so Warren Gatland's a genius. You have to bear that in mind every time you read his quotes, because he kind of says stuff in that quiet, soft-spoken, almost under his breath way. And it's a massive game for Ireland that will answer a lot of questions. That's why I'm excited. It's a challenge for us. This is professional sport, and we could put a massive dent in their confidence and derail them a little bit. It's like, they're my rival, and I'm going to kill them this weekend. I'm going to leave them, I'm going to lay rack and ruin to their World Cup hopes and make everybody doubt Schmidt and their players.
It's brilliant out of him. Like, it doesn't cost him anything in a pre-season warm-up game to just say it. Nobody remembers it by the time the tournament comes around, but now the Ireland there's a bit of needle there already just for.
Doug Schmidt will remember this forever.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure the Irish boys will have a bit more about them on Saturday. I think his players might feel the brunt of it. I think he'll get away with it fine, but
Yeah, and sometimes you wonder if maybe he wanted his players to feel that.
Maybe so.
It's hard to know. What have you got for us?
The back of the Mirror today has Virgil van Dijk after winning the UEFA Men's Player of the Year, following a love-in between Ronaldo and Messi last night. It was a nice bit between the two of them, actually, where Ronaldo is saying that hopefully they could be friends afterwards and they have a good relationship. But obviously, as a Liverpool fan, to see Virgil van Dijk winning that and Alisson winning the Goalkeeper of the Year, it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, Alisson missing, I think, is one of the reasons why the defence is bad. Kenny Cunningham does not agree. He thinks they've just, and they're not bad, they're just not as good as they were last year yet.
Yeah, I think
it's very early though, isn't it?
I do think the confidence of having him behind you makes, like, you don't notice the line being as high because he's so good behind you.
I agree. I
think that's the main difference.
What did you make about Cantona? It was a bit of King Lear and a bit of French magic realism.
I saw a tweet this morning. Somebody said he's not far away from cutting his ear off. But yeah, it was interesting to say the least. The Times have Virgil van Dijk again, the winner. Nice picture of him there sitting next to two of the best of all times. And as Michael said, they probably want to be friends, but I think Messi, being a complete Barcelona boy, is slightly fearful of fans saying, is he friends with that guy from Madrid? And probably when they retire, you'll see their relationship blossom. And Walker, Kyle Walker will be next by Gareth Southgate.
Oh, yeah?
He's dropped a Man City defender and opened the pathway for youth to seize its chance. So whether that's long term or not is... there could be a little injury behind that, I don't know, but that is something interesting to pick up on.
The next decade is going to be Conor Callaghan versus Clifford.
Yeah.
It's Messi versus Ronaldo.
Yeah.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that's like the best marketing thing that's ever happened to the GA, and it's like accidental but brilliant, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they're that good.
Yeah, and they're that young. As in, they're only going to get better.
Yeah, and they're fully developed at 20 and 21, do you know what I mean? Whereas a lot of, when Gooch and all these fellas were coming through at 20, they were... we were all slips of lads at that age, but whereas these lads are...
They've been in the gym
since they're 15 in development programmes, and it's...
The chances are for the next 10 years you'll be watching them. Like, you might watch maybe 6 All-Ireland finals or 7 All-Ireland finals between the two of them.
If Con doesn't give it up to go hurling, which he might do.
Yeah, I don't think so. Not when Jim Gavin's around.
And who knows how long that's going to last. The Herald, shot in the arm. This is Desi Farrell's take. on the early season form that Dublin weren't great in the league, and he reckons that might have been exactly what they needed. It's a young Kerry team. They'll be very, very strong in the future, but I just think this one has come a little bit too early for them. There was a concern over the dip in the league, but in hindsight, that could have been a blessing because it may have been the shot in the arm or the kick in the ass that they needed. And so he says the group have made whatever adjustments they needed to make, and they've done fantastically since. I don't think the league was a priority this year for Dublin. It was like get everybody fit and well, and it's remarkable how well they've managed to get to this point in the season where I don't think anybody, certainly that we know of, is carrying any serious injuries. Every year up to this point, somebody's been missing or injured or whatever, but it looks like this year they've got a full deck.
Yeah, I don't think they didn't need to focus on the league. I think it's a luxury that they have, that they know they're good enough to stay up in Division 1 while just coasting along and not putting too much pressure on anyone. Let them get through the club season and then really let them go at it from then on. I don't think you'd find out whether they have many injuries or not as well.
It's a fair point, yeah.
It's watertight at the moment.
Yeah, they have the stuff too in Tralee. They were kind of meandering through the game, and you know, they got a man sent off. They were down 4 points. There was 8 minutes to go, and they said, "Let's go." And all of a sudden, they were level going into injury time, and it took Peter Crowley to go up and knock over a winner for Kerry. But it was just a little glimpse into when these fellas push the button. It's, you know, they don't need to have 15 fellas. They can do it with 14. They can do it in the rain. They can do it in Tralee. It was they brought on, you know, the guys from the bench who are being kind of a small bit maligned, and I think unfairly so. I think it's you know, I think we can't expect every time Kevin McManaman comes on that he's going to score 1-3, but I think every time he comes on he's making all the right decisions. He's making all the right plays for his team at that time. They mightn't have been as spectacular as they once were, but I don't think that's needed anymore. I think Jim and Dublin are very confident in the guys they've coming on are going to make all the right decisions for the team, which is what you need. You actually need that to win big games, not guys coming on trying to be heroes, taking shots and missing and giving other teams momentum. You know, I think that day they brought on, I think Brogan, McManaman, Macaulay in the league game in Tralee. Like they were wheeling out players of the year. I think there was 4 players of the year, but I think Paul Flynn was brought on the same day too before he retired. So it was a bit of realisation.
What else? What have you got?
On the back of the Guardian, it's a picture of the England ladies team, and just the fact that Liverpool and City have gotten handy draws in the Champions League.
Yeah, Champions League draw. I mean, there's one good group.
Chelsea's group is, yeah.
Who was in Champions League?
Lille, Valencia and Ajax.
Okay.
So that's probably the best group.
Yeah, it wasn't. I mean, maybe
2 hours for a Champions League draw is a bit excessive as well.
It is, isn't it? It's like,
yeah, come on.
Look, I understand it's TV. It's cheap TV to make, really, and Messi and Ronaldo are in the crowd, so you're going to get massive audiences, and everybody wants to watch it. But I agree. What have you got for us, the Star?
I got the Star. Clucko's Army. We John O'Leary in here with off the ball yesterday, and he's, you know, looking at Cluxton possibly being the next manager of Dublin. He strikes me as the perfect guy. And you've Gatland having to pop off of Ireland again, and obviously that story with Kieran Mooney is there as well. But interesting one.
Cluxton is the next manager.
He'd probably be perfect, wouldn't he? But he could play for another few years yet.
Yeah, what do you think? We were talking about this yesterday.
You can't read him, like, right?
It's completely his decision.
Yeah, it's completely his.
I mean, if they win on Sunday, he's captained them to 5 All-Ireland titles. Like,
yeah,
well, that was it.
You know, it's pretty much his decision whether he wants to keep going.
It'd be perfect to go out in this, but then you're kind of, if you're him, you're kind of going, I'm off every summer, I can still do this, I like doing it doesn't really affect me. He doesn't seem to be a guy who suffers fools likely. He doesn't be around the place doing any media, so you know, he can go about his business and just be in that Dublin bubble which he's very comfortable in.
Yeah, but he can also look at careers that are now stretching into the 40s of the greatest sportsmen and think, well, I could do that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he can do the...
He doesn't seem to be slowing down. I mean, the kickouts are still as long as they are.
Yeah.
He doesn't seem to be any less...
No.
His reflexes haven't dropped at all. So, like, a lot of goalkeepers do go, especially in soccer, we see it a lot. You see a lot of keepers who go to 38, 39, 40.
Yeah.
There's no reason why he couldn't do it in GA.
Yeah, all right. Are you doing that? The last one that you got?
Yep.
So I've got the Indo here. And O'Sullivan facing Axe in Gavin's final show of force. McMahon to miss out on Dub starting role with Kingdom set to promote Captain White. So Cian O'Sullivan and Philly McMahon, says Michael Verney, looks set to be the ones left most disappointed when Gavin finalises his starting 15 for Sunday's date with Destiny against Kerry. Do we think this is right? Cian O'Sullivan not going to play and Philly McMahon not going to start?
Me and Michael were talking about it on matchups that if Kerry start Tommy Walsh, they're the two guys you probably want to pick him up, Philly Mack or Cian O'Sullivan. So it shows you the luxury Dublin have when they're leaving those two calibre players out.
There's an interesting subplot there though. Like, with the way the teams have gone in the GA, where you don't find out till pretty much an hour before. Like, let's say Dublin have put in their team and then Kerry start with Tommy Walsh and you have Davy Byrne, Michael Fitzsimons and Johnny Cooper in the full back line. Like, are they going making a change after 10 or 15 minutes to put someone in on Tommy? Maybe not. So, it's nearly a case of like, you had it in the golf a couple of weeks, or last weekend with Rory and the other lad who were trying to put in their cards to see who'd get in first. So maybe you might be holding back your team to see what comes through the other door.
Yeah, it's mad. And do you make changes? Do you name a team and then make changes?
Yeah.
Dublin wouldn't be seen to do that. But that's why I think Kerry, and we'll talk about it later on.
Tommy's talking about Mayo starting Alan Dillon, who ran the show in the first half against Tyrone a couple of years ago, and then Mickey Hart was forced to make a change. That was obviously in between. That was unexpected out of nowhere.
Yeah, I think Tommy is a must start for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he poses issues for them and who they're picking in the backs. And
doesn't that make sense too? From kickouts, he can roam out for kickouts on both kickouts, and then he can go back in. So it's like he's mobile.
Yeah.
Like everyone's always not that mobile. He's pretty mobile, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he's very mobile, and he's 29, 30. He's fit as a fiddle. He played 5-6 years professional Aussie rules. Do you know what I mean? So he's got a great bank of fitness built up.
A huge amount of experience.
Huge, and he was a man of the match in the final in 09. So he's
one of that Kerry team who's really done it in an All Ireland final. There's a lot of new lads there. He's the one who's been there before. He's been there for what, 2 finals, 3 finals? He's been there. He's part of it in 07, played in 08 against Tyrone, and he was the man in 09 and then went to Australia.
So there's another aspect to the Gatlin story as well in the back of the Indo this morning. It's about Ireland being an ageing team. Good man, Gatlin. I was surprised by the Ireland result. They're under an enormous amount of pressure back home with a lot of criticism, says Warren Gatlin, who seems very au fait with what's going on in the Irish media. It's almost like he reads it every day. There are a lot of doubts in the coaches' minds about who their best players are. Some of their players are getting a bit older. Is it time to put some of the youngsters in? It's helpful, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like just giving some free, unsolicited advice to the Irish coaching team ahead of a game.
And the rugby as well, there's an interesting one in the Daily Mail. Felix Jones has moved to the Springboks.
Yeah.
Schmidt says that has admitted the move of Felix Jones to South Africa ahead of the World Cup is awkward, given he toured Japan as a part of Smith's backroom team 2 years ago. So he's got, Smith says here, described it as great knowledge of the Irish squad to go with all of that information to Razzie Erasmus. So that's Felix. I know Felix from his days at Munster. I met him a few times up there, and
seems like a great guy.
Oh, class. Yeah, he unfortunately for Munster he's gone, and he'll be a big plus to.
So you say unfortunately, right? Whatever that line from Oscar Wilde is, to lose one child, whatever, is unfortunate, to lose 2 seems like carelessness. It seems a little careless, given they know he's best mates with Razzie Erasmus. Mm-hmm. A little careless from the IRFU to allow this guy, just at the time of the World Cup, to go and join the coaching ticket of the team you're slated to meet in the quarterfinals. It seems a little careless. Doesn't it? Like, keep him on board for 6 months, get him in the Ireland setup for 6 months. Come on, we'll...
Yeah.
No, off you go. We've had enough of you, Felix.
Yeah, he's supposed to be held in very high regard.
South Africa.
Yeah, he's supposed to be held by very high regard by the players in Munster and Ireland. So
yeah,
it's going to be. It won't be promising if we're playing South Africa in a big game. That this guy knows. He probably knows set plays. Now they might have changed him since his time in South Africa, but he'll know some of them.
Yeah, and in fairness, Razzie probably has the work done on that too. But like this is the best prepared, most no stone unturned coaching ticket of all time. And it's like, oh, we're just going to let that walk out of the building and go over there, and there's nothing we can do about it. And it's a bit awkward.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I can't imagine them being happy with it.
They've got to take some responsibility for that. So, right. A reminder, you can enter our brilliant competition with Dominic Smith Expert Electrical this morning. You can win a state-of-the-art Sony TV and home entertainment system worth $4,000. Just share the show and send us in your All-Ireland final prediction. You don't need to get the prediction right because we're going to pick a winner before the end of the show today. It is 3 minutes past 8 this morning. I just haven't done the Irish Times for you yet. Some great stories on offtheball.com. Fenton will supersede what Brian Mullins has done. That was Charlie Redmond. It's going to be a game and a half. It's Paddy Cullen, who isn't writing off Kerry. I'm not writing off Kerry either. I think we're going to get into this in a couple of minutes' time. Colm Nally was brilliant on the show yesterday afternoon. He almost strikes me as the next manager. That's John O'Leary. Stephen Rochford expecting a huge performance from Carefree Kerry. I would go along with that one as well. The train journey that put Kerry 2009 back in the rails, that was brilliant. That's Sean O'Sullivan, right?
Yeah.
That was, he said in 2009 you were coming back.
Depressed after just getting over the line against Antrim in Tullamore.
And the draw gets made while you're on the train?
Yeah. It was.
And suddenly everybody's like, yes, come on, let's go.
Yeah.
Lads who weren't talking to each other suddenly,
no, there was lads not talking to each other. It was just we'd been on the road a good bit that year.
A few of you had been out on the town as well?
A few of us had been out in the town, not me, but yeah, a few fellas had been out in the town. Which really, it was probably, there was more made of it because we were playing so bad. And we had the team, like we'd Ty Kennelly, we'd Galvin, Declan Sullivan,
not
Tommy
a bad
Walsh.
team. I mean, what the hell? What were you doing, getting nearly beaten by Antrim and Sligo?
We'd kind of injuries. I broke my metatarsal twice that year. Myself and Ty were both above in Santry. I remember us getting the train up, the two of us. Ty was after breaking the bone in his hand here, is it metacarpal or one of those, and I had the one in the foot, the metatarsal. We were like two sorry souls, and we were just trying. He was going to be back quicker than I was, but it was we were just waiting for something in that game. We knew at that time you go from playing Sligo and Antrim, and no disrespect to them, but now you've Dublin and Croke Park and 82,000. It's an All-Ireland final out of nowhere, and you've a week's notice. We didn't have any time to think too much about it. You know, we had the team. Mike McCarthy was back in after a 3-year hiatus, and we were ready to go win the All-Ireland from there.
And the start of Learwigs, that was a result of that. I didn't do the Irish Times, I'll do that one finally. All-Ireland referees come to terms with hostile new world. Interesting piece from Sean Moran talking about the life of a referee now and how high profile you've become, particularly in the age of social media. Griffin recalls being among Dublin's startled earwigs. That's, is it Tommy Griffin who's doing that interview? I think it probably is. And then there's a very young looking Declan O'Sullivan, just with his beautiful lithe running style. And proud old tradition of Kerry captaincy, nothing new for White. So is Gavin White going to start?
I think so.
Yeah, that's a lot of responsibility for a 22-year-old, isn't it? Maybe it isn't. Maybe it's grand.
He's actually the most. Yeah, he's the most solid. Yeah. He's the most solid young fella you come across. Yeah, he's a complete pro. Doesn't drink.
So no big deal being captain in Kerry. It's not treated the same way it is in other counties.
They're kind of bred like that in Crokes too, aren't they?
Yeah.
They know it well.
Yeah, they'll know.
And you're kind of expecting it if you're 18 or 19 years of age, it might come along because they've won so many.
They've won so many, and it's not like he's in there having to give rousing team speeches all the time. You know, you've got David Moran and Paul Ganey and all these fellas that have been
ceremonial. Let's go up and do the toss and.
There's a role for two, like, you know, but it differs from year to year. But he's certainly well able to lead and has the game to do that.
All right, 6 minutes past 8 this morning here on OTB AM. We're going to be back talking with a special All-Ireland final edition of Shot Clock after this.
OTB AM on OTB Sports Radio, Ireland's first and only sports radio station.
Join Bruce Betting now for a risk-free first bet up to €100. That's right. New Irish accounts can enjoy a risk-free first bet up to €100. So if your first bet loses, we'll refund your stake with a free bet. Now that's giving you more. Bruce Betting. In store, online, and now on your phone. T's and C's apply. Please gamble responsibly. See dunlewy.net.
OTB AM.
And you see this minibus pulling up at the top, and about 10 lads get off, and they're all jumping up and down, and they're dancing, and they're like, we're going out. So we actually drove around Dublin that night. I'm sorry, when I got on the bus, I was there thinking we're going to be killed for this. Pillar and Cathal Jackson, the owner, Copperface Jacks, were sitting up the front of the bus. And there was 2 cases of beer, and so we actually drove. They'd come out and got me, and we drove, and we ended up making our way. I just remember heading over Castleknock direction, so we ended up at the Brogans. Someone, I think Wheeler stuck his arse through Barry Call's parents' banisters trying to get Barry down. And it was going great until we got to we were a couple hours on the bus, and we got to Conall Keeney's house, and we rang the doorbell, and it was probably 1 o'clock in the morning, and Connell's dad is you wouldn't mess around with him too much, and he opened the door, and it was like, I think it took a couple of brave men to go by him. I think it was Darren Holman or Wheelo, and everyone else scattered the other direction, you know. So, but again, that night we ended up and I mean, there was guys coming in flip-flop shorts. They were whatever you were wearing, you were taking in. And
Barry Cattle had pyjamas on. It's the one thing I couldn't get, like, in the middle of summer. Yeah, Wheelo fell through his banisters through the whole thing and wrecked the gaff. And all I could remember was he's wearing pyjamas. I've never seen a grown man wear pyjamas.
Poor Barry Cal, his entire reputation ruined by the lads at our roadshow during the week. That's one of our Super Value roadshows. If you've enjoyed any of them, you can get the rest of them on podcast or, of course, on YouTube as well. Now, we should tell you that just a little bit of what you missed on yesterday. We had a brilliant day. We were live for 17 full hours. It was almost as if there was a full-time sports radio station in Ireland. What did you enjoy it, people? Maybe you'd let us know about that. From 7 a.m. until midnight, we built up to the All-Ireland football final with our Drive for 5 special. Lee Keegan, Colm Nally, Killian Clark, Stephen Rochford, John O'Beelan, Paddy Cullen, John O'Leary, Paul Beelan, Clean O'Connor. That we were on our Dublin hour with Stephen Doyle and Phil Egan. The Kerry hour is Mikey Sheehy, Mark O'Shea, Darragh Caneja, Barry John Keane. That was alongside Owen Sheehan and Sean O'Sullivan. Joe Malloy had Judge Brian McMahon and Paul Rouse on a history of Gaelic football. The big crappy quiz of the Football Championship. Michael Lester's All-Ireland final memories alongside Mike Quirk. The 6 o'clock hour was Charlie Redmond, David Brady, Ross Munley, Paul Hearty and Aaron Kernan. At 7 o'clock, Micheál Hartick and Gary Breen on... Gary Breen, obviously a Kerry man, it turns out. The Super Value Roadshow with Andy Moore, Mickey Whelan and guests and much more. You'll find all of that back in our podcasts on offtheball.com and over at youtube.com/offtheball. But the big thing that we did yesterday was crown the greatest footballer in the Kerry-Dublin rivalry in our World Cup of Kerry versus Dublin individual footballers. It came to an all Kerry final, and our final poll was, are we going to go through all of these? Yeah? No, just the final? All right, so you've got a few. Stick up whatever you got for us here. It was the polls. All right, okay. So, Donaghy, you were knocked out in the group stages. Sorry.
Yeah, I know. I was well aware that I was going to be knocked out of that group.
You had a tough group. Seamus Moynihan, Philly McMahon and Jack McCaffrey. How many times did you vote on your burner accounts?
One, yeah, on his as well.
Kevin Durant.
Jesus Christ, I thought at least Owen and Off the Ball could have fixed it, that I would have got through. Just by a percent.
Dermot Connolly got knocked out of the quarterfinals by Jack McCaffrey.
Yeah.
That's not right. Jack McCaffrey's a great footballer. Like,
brilliant, yeah, but like, yeah. He's not Dermot Connolly. Like,
yeah, right.
That's a popularity contest.
It's probably a more recency thing, I would say. As in the last 2 or 3 years, you've seen a lot of McCaffrey and you haven't seen a lot of...
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Connolly.
Tomás O'Shea knocked Brian Fenton out in the quarter-final as well. See, I think Brian Fenton's going to go on to be the greatest footballer of all time.
Yeah.
You need a full career.
That's a tight one. Is that what people are kind of going on?
I don't know what people are going on.
But they're not going on that then if you look at Connolly and because Connolly for 7 or 8 years was unbelievable.
The final was Gooch versus Maurice Fitz, and the winner is Colm Cooper. 52-48 was the final score.
Yeah. It's going to be a toss-up between the two of them, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's going to be a toss-up between the two of them. And plus, like, that's from 2000 on.
Last 25 years, we were going all the way back.
25 years, okay, yeah.
So Maurice Fitz, like, kicking 14 points in a 16-14 defeat, you know? It was like...
Yeah, no, he was... I played against him in club games. He was ridiculous, yeah.
Kicking sidelines when nobody else could do it.
Yeah, off both sides.
Yeah, it's the people...
Just so effortless, like.
Yeah.
As in nonchalant, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, to show you how much of a dope I was when I was young, we were playing in the County League game in Connolly Park in front of my own people, and I couldn't actually wait to get my hands on Maurice Fitzgerald. He's out middle of the field, and I said I'm going to absolutely break him up, as in going to be in his ear, hop off him, because obviously I can't go out and play football with him, so I have to try something, and I kicked a point with my left leg that day. I was soloing, he was on my left hand side, I was soloing on my right, and I got down past the 45 and made a bit of a shimmy and came into my left leg, and no, like I'd actually have to grab myself. I don't even know why I did it, but I hit this thing off my left leg anyway, sailed over the black spot and did my usual, made a beeline from Maurice Fitz and hopped off him, and let him know that was a great point. And the resulting kick out, I felt the knee up on my shoulder and hit the ground and looked away, and Maurice Fitz was scampering down the field, so I got up and I was chasing back, and he hand passed it off and he got it back, and he was on the 45 and he was on the right side, kind of middle of the field on the right side, and he kind of just looked at the post and dummy soloed, and I dived to get the big block, to follow up my great score, and he dummy soloed it and threw it onto the left from the 45 and just split the posts and just gave me a wink as he jogged past. And that was the end of my talking to Maurice Fitz.
Well, that's fair enough. It's good to learn at the feet of the greatest.
Exactly.
All right, so it's time for a very special All-Ireland final edition of Shot Clock. We're not debating stuff this week. We're just trying to get some knowledge dropped on us by Kieran. Yeah,
I think I've got a good partner in crime here today too that we'll talk about a few things on. The first thing we wanted to kind of talk about, Ger, was just why Kerry should start Tommy Walsh, basically. And I was having to think about this over the last few days on my holidays, and the biggest thing that that you need against Dublin is size and presence, and I think physicality is huge in this game on Sunday. There'll be a lot of 50-50 battles, and I think big men coming out with balls important. The lift Kerry fans will get if they see him jogging towards the hill, flanked by Gainey and Clifford. I think there's a lot of fans kind of going, okay, we're going for this, and we're Kerry, and we're in a position where we're totally written off. We don't have a chance, so you need to go for it early on. I think his time in Australia, Jeremy, we saw it this year in the league, his league performances, his lead from the Aussie rules, which is where they constantly work on getting ahead of their men and getting out and winning ball right there, so it's not 50-50 contest for marks all day. His lead was unbelievable. It was good before he ever went to Australia, and I think he's so physically strong that if he gets a hand on you and goes, he's lethal, and he brings that obvious threat of overhead. Yeah. And you brought it up earlier on. I think his passing, his vision, his hands from the basketball. He played basketball as a kid. I coached him. I remember coaching him out in the Sem, and did 5 guys on him. So he had to be able to spot a pass because he was so much bigger than everybody else. It was kind of, my tactic was get it to Tommy, and if the 5 didn't go to you, Tommy, hit it somebody else that I had 1 or 2 shooters lined up. So he had to be good at passes. He was man of the match in the 2009 final. 4 points, 2 off his legs, only 10 years ago. Game temperament.
Why hasn't he made the team up to this point, though? What have they been doing that have held the management back from selecting him?
I'm not sure.
He did have a few knocks.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, it could have been a knock. Could have been. He played a couple of games in the league. I think the biggest thing is the foil that he allows Gainey and Clifford, because if you are Dublin and you see him going into your full back line, he's immediately the first person you're trying to give a job to one of the players for, or you're trying to make a plan for. And it allows the other 2 a little bit more freedom. Whereas if he's not in there, they immediately are, number 1 and 2, and your whole plan is to stop the 2 of them. Whereas if he plays as the deepest one inside, he's winning ball. You saw it, we were discussing it. Clifford kicked 2 brilliant points off him in the semi-final. And it's not high ball that's actually gone in there. It's him coming out, winning and offloading. He poses Dublin a problem because of the quality of the other 2 who play inside with him. Because it's very tough to get on top of 3 of them. And that foil would definitely make a huge difference to Kerry, I think.
Yeah.
The reason he hasn't been playing,
it doesn't matter.
Not particularly. I think when you go up and you end up in the your top 3, 4, 5 teams in the country, you have 25, 26 players that could play.
Okay.
And like you've seen that.
How important?
Players come in from the cold and
you got
to be able to do a job.
Yeah, like look at me in 14. I didn't kick a ball in 14 all summer, all year, badly injured, not being able to do anything for the whole pre-season, most of the championship. I got 7 minutes against Mayo in the semi-final. Started the replay in the Gaelic grounds, played 90 minutes, probably 100 minutes really if you take it in all the added times that were added on. And Tommy's a much better physical specimen than I ever was. And, he hasn't played all year, he can't play.
Nonsense, doesn't matter, is it?
Nonsense.
Okay.
The momentum that Tommy would have from that jar would be huge from the last day, the buzz of confidence. He got injured in the Munster final replay. Right. He got injured in the Munster final blowing Cork in the warm-up. We were out there watching him, and all of a sudden he went into the dressing room, came back out with his tracksuit on, and we were like, he's after getting injured. So he's had little knocks all year, but he's been flying, in the lead up to the Tyrone game. I was hoping he'd play the full game against Meath. He didn't, but he came on and played well. And obviously he was the X factor against Tyrone.
The other thing is that that's a 3-man full forward line whenever you need it. And Dublin don't really experience that very often against a team who will also have players who can find that full forward line. So suddenly their defence is thinking about things that they haven't really seen that much over the last 6 years.
Yeah, they won't play flat. I wouldn't suspect. They'll play with Tommy maybe. If he goes in there, they'll play with him as the deepest one. And maybe Gainey and Clifford will fill that place on the 40.
So that's far out as that?
The three of them would be in or around your 45, but they certainly probably won't play as a flat three inside. I think you very rarely see that nowadays.
But
they definitely do have 3 players up the field, which Dublin don't encounter all that often.
Suddenly Dublin sweeper is actually probably more engaged than they have been with man marking, because there's at least that amount of players forward, right?
Yeah, I think they're doing a good job though, Dublin, with, I don't think they really have one sweeper, they're playing a sweeper. I think they're very cute with their tactical fouling. If somebody rounds you in the 45, you're fouled,
you
get fellas back.
Keane O'Sullivan over the last number of years stood there and kind of patrolled things. They haven't had that this year. Like Johnny Cooper has been.
Johnny's doing a bit of it. Yeah, I think
he's also picking somebody up at various stages.
I think they're they're an extra man back. I think they're so smart, all of them, and they all know their roles. And I'd say they demand that off each other. I think they're.
That's how it's evolved for them over the last maybe 18 months, is the fact that they can now put in a committee pretty much where, if you're free, you suddenly become the extra man. And you know the place. Yeah. You're expert at knowing the role.
That's a good way to put it.
It's not a Colm Kavanagh, where Colm Kavanagh is the guy who does that all the time. And if you ask somebody else to do it, they're like, hold on, what am I doing here? Am I in the right places? Am I attacking at the right time? Am I pushing at the ball? Am I at the right side where the ball is coming down the pitch? Am I taking out that side so my defenders can take out the other side? There's a lot to the sweeper role. Yeah. And I think every Dublin player. Yeah.
Potentially because Kieran O'Sullivan obviously had those injury issues over the last number of years where they've been forced into doing that. So it might not be by design, but certainly the sweeper by committee has worked out for them.
Yeah, it's much harder to play. I would say it's much harder to play against, because if you know that Kieran O'Sullivan is your designated sweeper, whoever's maybe he's picking up can cause them problems in different parts of the field. Whereas if you're thinking that 2 of your half forward line have gone back down the field, down into your own 45, and let's say John Small has stayed in their half back line and he's now the sweeper, it's a lot harder to get on top of it in that way.
Yeah. Okay. So you want Tommy Walsh to start? You think that?
Yeah, I really do think you have to play him on the back of the momentum that he has personally himself and his confidence, and he's just such a big game player. I just think you have to go with him.
Okay. No sense of trying to keep it tight and bring him on for that big shot of momentum.
I don't think you can do it against them. I don't think you can do it against Dublin. I think if you're thinking like that, like you saw what happened to Andy Moran, that's what Mayo were doing with Andy Moran. Andy Moran was brought on. They were just after getting Lee Keegan was just after getting the goal, but Andy was sending the sideline down 10 points. Like, what a demoralising place to be as a player, especially Andy, who was, probably knowing that this is going to be my last game. He's kind of going, what can I do here? And Dublin can do that during the first 10 minutes. So I think you've got to start with your forceful guys, you've got to start with your leaders, your big presence guys. Tommy's going to go up there and he's going to take, as Michael said, he's going to take an awful lot of the heat off of Clifford and Gainey. And all of a sudden he wins a few balls, the boys pop over a few points. It's confidence is a queer thing, and if Tommy can help those lads find it early in the game, you saw what they were like against Tyrone. They were really struggling and he just gave them that outlet.
So it's still, according to the bookmakers, a 6-point game. I don't really feel like this is a 6-point game, to be honest.
It's going to be a 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 point game, or a very tight game. And it's been like that. Like Eden 16, we were look, we were level until that late hit on Crowley, and Diarmuid Connolly goes up and kicks a raker with his left leg out on the sideline to win by 2. And every other time it's been really close until that last burst that they get in the 70th minute, which Kerry will be well aware of. So I just don't think they're the team that you can kind of hope and set your team up. I think you've got to set your team up and go for it at the start. If you look at what Meath did in the first half, if you look at what Mayo did in the first half, the calibre of those two teams compared to the calibre of what we have at the moment on an attacking basis, I think you have to go with your best foot forward, and you have to really look. Gooch was writing during the week, and I said it on Shot Clock last week, we're going to need goals to win this game, and I think Tommy brings something there where you try and get 2 or 3 goals. Dublin don't concede goals, but I think we've the boys to do it. We're
going to go to the tactics board in a couple of minutes to show you exactly how that Tommy Walsh might work. But let's talk about matchups. This is very important. I want to play you this. So it's Lee Keegan talking about his head spinning. He was on yesterday. Here he is talking about marking Conor Callaghan and saying that these are the first goals that he's ever conceded in play in football, which is mad. Let's have a look.
There was a bit of, I suppose, us that kind of, fed into their superiority a bit in that second half. As I think we had maybe 2 shots that dropped short. We didn't give Robbie any platform for a kick out. We went into a complete kind of bubble where people were nearly afraid to look for the ball. I think Brian Centre had a massive turnover in that patch as well. They went up, got a big score. So Dublin did so much well, but we kind of fed into a lot as well, where we just were doing kind of things that were giving them action and sucking from us. But again, in terms of that as well, when they were in their pomp, I mean, it was just so hard to stop. You're thinking to yourself, your head is kind of just spinning at the time, thinking there's runners left, there's right. Do you pick up this guy? Do you go to another guy? It was just, you just felt like it was never going to end. And I suppose eventually we did get a score to break up the mould. It was just too late.
It was too late. You were marked by Lee Keegan?
Yeah, in the full back line, they played, in 16 they played Lee Keegan, I marked him, and then did Barry Moore and kind of stayed as a sweeper. The one thing I kind of saw different...
They had obviously identified you as one of the main threats that day.
The one thing that I saw differently was with Barry Moore in there, Keegan took me on a run down the field 2 or 3 times during that first half, and...
Just to test your lungs?
Yeah, but as an inside forward, I was nearly happy to keep him back in the full back line because I know how good he is going forward. Whereas when they played against Mayo, I didn't really see him venture forward at all in that first half pretty much. He was just detailed to take Conor Callaghan.
Yeah.
And if you're asking him a question of going the full length of his field, the full length of the field back down to his own 45 or 21, it takes a couple of minutes to get your breath back.
Yeah.
It works 2 ways that way.
Yeah, he's talking about our own inferiority fed into stuff in the second half, and it's almost like they got in their own heads a little bit by putting him on Con.
He was on Con in the first half, and he did.
Con skinned him in the first minute.
He didn't skin him.
He did. He skinned him, but the ball dropped and he hit
but he didn't. That's not skinning. Skinning somebody is just going past him and burying into the net. Keegan is strong enough to put an arm across him, force Con to drop the ball and scutter one into the keeper's hands, which is fine. That's coming. The Kerry guys have to be wary of that. Is that me? Sorry.
There, on the right there. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Camera left.
Yeah, sorry. Keegan, in fairness to him, I thought he did really well in the first half, but it just shows you discipline, how important it's going to be for Kerry on Sunday and whoever's marking Con Callaghan, because once Keegan was on a yellow card in the second half, it's lights out. You can't foul him.
There's a huge amount of difference in the quality of the ball that was going in the second half, though. For that 15-minute period and at the start of the second half, Conor Callaghan was getting the ball one-on-one with Lee Keegan on the 21 with Keegan on a booking.
Yeah.
It's a forward stream. You run at him, he can't tackle you pretty much.
Because it's going to be a penalty.
Or he can't tackle you.
Or he gets sent off.
Yeah, or he takes you down and it's black and it's a red and suddenly you're down to 14 men. It was a dream. The tempo that they increased around the middle of the field in the middle 8 for that 15-minute period just meant that Mannion and Conor Callaghan, they'll destroy you with that sort of ball.
Kilkenny played really well in that game, kind of almost got no credit. He's not scoring, so... But actually, he's centrally involved
in the second half, yeah.
Really centrally involved and all that stuff. Let's talk a little bit about Andy Moran, because as you said there, it was him coming on for 10 points down. Obviously, the goal gets scored while he's waiting to come on. Here he is at our Super Value Roadshow in St Vincent San Marino. Have a look at this.
Did you ever give the ears to the hill? He gave it to me the minute I came in. He goes like this to me. He goes, "Make sure you talk up now." He gave it to me the minute I came in. But yeah, that was like I struggled.
You love that.
Yeah,
you mentioned like Ballahadreen is obviously Ballahadreen is in Roscommon, but you play your football in Mayo. Against Roscommon, you're giving them both barrels, and you have to go home and live in Ballahadreen with these people.
I enjoyed that. It wasn't my smartest move, but the Dublin one, I was the semi-final. I had a very poor game in the semi-final against Tyrone, and there was lots of calls for me to be Mickey Conroy to come in and be replaced and everything. And we had a psychologist at the time called Kieran Donaghy, and he said, "Joe, keep telling yourself you're going to silence the hill. You're going to silence the hill." So I blame him for that. I did it, and I was like, "What am I doing?" Do you know?
You're delighted with yourself.
Do you know what the worst thing about it was? They went straight up the pitch from the kick out, kicked it out. Bernard put the ball in the back of the net the first side. I was like, "Oh, come on, thanks, Bernard." Yeah, but listen, great times, and it's great to be here.
Are you ever tempted to give the ears to the hill? Have either of you ever done it?
No, I did it in a minor match. I gave it the fist though.
Right,
not the ears.
Yeah, no, I've given the fist. I've given the fist, right, not the ears.
Right, we're at the tactics board. Are we going to start with Tommy Walsh?
Yeah, we were talking about the shape that
Kerry are red.
Kerry are red, yeah. And you're looking at Seanie O'Shea there, but this is possibly what Dublin could face if Tommy starts in there. But what I think he did very well against Tyrone, and if David Moran picks up ball around here, David Moran is very good at delivering ball in here. Tommy comes out and wins it, and then you have, a Clifford coming on the loop left side, or if it's the opposite side, you've Gainey coming on the loop and getting a few easy scores. But what he can also do, I think what Tommy can do as well, is that's when he leads. That's when he leads out to wings. But I think he's also very good at this lead out in front. And I think if he can get out in front and get ball into him with a Seanie O'Shea
or Stephen O'Brien, or a Gavin White coming off him, or hopefully if they put Tom Sullivan on Con, Tom can pull Con up the pitch when Kerry have the ball a bit, and Tom could get in there. He's well able to score. So he brings so much shape, and I think as Michael rightly said, he'll take a bit of heat off of these fellas to win their own ball early on. I think if you play Tommy Walsh inside, maybe your best defender might actually go in and mark him, because you're very worried about what happens if he gets the ball against a Davy Byrne. Can he just go past him? Mm-hmm. He's just too physically strong. So you might find that they'll put their best defender in.
Who's that?
Probably Cooper. I don't think they put Cooper on him. I don't think Cooper probably has the height.
I think that's where
Simons will probably go in on him.
Yeah, and that's why Kerry starting him causes much more of headaches for Dublin in pre-game and build-up.
It's a psychological warfare, really.
It is, yeah.
If you think back to the one thing that everybody talks about this Dublin team is the high ball into the full back line, and there's actually a bunch of goals over the last couple of years. Galway scored a goal. Cluxton got injured against Westmeath from a high ball that was going in. Like, there's just been a little bit of...
And Kerry are the best team that certainly I've ever played against at putting that high ball in, probably most notably to the man himself standing beside me, because they don't... A lot of the time you hear, when it comes to what could we change, how could we make this more difficult to him, you hear, sure, put the big man in there and launch it in there. And you'll see teams that try and kick the ball from here or here, and they're launching it down on top of him, and it's a backs ball all day, whereas Kerry are much better at coming down this wing, and then the ball goes to the far side, and it gives you, as an inside forward, I can stand like this, I can hold you off, and I can take it in that hand, and like that ball coming over to here causes the most panic of any ball in Gaelic games, because you have runners coming in here and they're going straight at that goal.
We worked a lot in it last year, and I had a good understanding built up with corner forwards, and for 11 or 12 years of my career, I was constantly, looking for this ball here. But as it took me 11 or 12 years to figure it out, unfortunately. But actually, the better ball is a ball kicked in here to a corner forward who turns. Because what happens when a corner forward turns there, your defender that's marking you, if that's Clifford with the ball, he's not really worried about you at all here. And if you can curl this with the inside of your boot across the square, this guy goes from not being worried at all to being in panic stations, whereas I think when the ball's coming from out here, he can, if it's a guy like me or Tommy, they're going to want to get to this position because they know this ball is coming, and that's now all of a sudden you're getting into a real physical match here. Whereas when that ball goes into the corner, Ger, this defender is always going to mark you to cut out any of these runs from that side. He's not going to stand behind you because it's too easy for you to go out and get it, so he's going to stand that side.
He's also doubling up just in case he goes past this.
Correct, in case he wants to be the help. But that ball here that comes over the top has this guy scrambling, and you're able to attack it. It's an easier ball to catch, Ger. An inside of the boot, curled ball over your head is an easier ball to fetch than that one that's coming in at a 45-degree angle on the outside of the boot and it's waving in the air, and Croke Park is got...
How many people can kick this?
I think Clifford and Gain, I would have worked a lot with it with Clifford last year, Barry John last year. We would have done a good bit in it, and I hope that if it's something that Tommy is in there or comes in, that he would have talked to these boys about. I would have been preaching this to the team that I don't necessarily want it from here. That I prefer it when it goes in here, because it's just this guy switches off. He switches off for a split second. He goes, okay, I don't have to worry about the ball. It's gone into the corner. What's going on over there? Next thing, bang, it's coming in over his head. Now he's turned. Where is this guy that I have to mark? And if you catch this ball that's kicked from here and you catch it going this way, not only you're landing going towards goal and to score. So
back and back under the ball.
Yeah, it's panic stations. And I think if a ball goes in here. No, I always said to the boys, if you run out here and win a hard ball, it's a lot to do to turn and take on your man and start trying to take him in along the in-line and score, because you're out here and the help is coming. But if you win a hard ball out there, I have no problem with you turning and kicking this across. And I had always a good understanding with Cullum that if he won a hard ball out here, turn and kick it across. But if he wins a ball where he wins it with time, I'd always show for him that he'd be able to play a 1-2 with me and go kick his score. Because he'd have time to pick me out after winning the good ball. But sometimes corner forwards win a hard ball. Michael will know all about it. Winning hard ball out here, down low.
Sliding.
It's a lot to do to start going, taking you on your man and scoring. And what often happens is just gets recycled out and you get into this kind of game where you're hoping something works. Whereas if you can turn here quickly, get a ball across, a Clifford or a Gainey, curling that in the inside of the boot, what you have then is you've Tommy competing in here for the ball. You've this guy can now read it if it's coming from this side to come in. And as Michael said, you have your runners that can take off and hopefully get something for you inside.
In both Clifford and Gainey are both two-legged players, so it doesn't matter if they end up in either corner.
Not at all.
As a defender out here, if your man wins the ball there, you're arguably trying to cut off this space because you don't want him to turn inside.
Yeah,
he'll nearly let you go down the touchline.
They will, yeah.
Which is why. You get a couple of yards down the touchline, you catch your breath, and then it's just a floated ball across.
Yeah,
it is. Sometimes nearly getting the ball into this area, you get so much space along this touchline.
It's where Dublin's second goal came from against Mayo, and it's almost exactly the same situation with obviously a brilliant run from.
Yeah.
Which at the time was he must have pushed him over, but he just broke his ankle with the. Turn.
Yeah, they've got that down. The Dublin guys have got that back door down where they come out and they cut back.
So are we saying this is Michael Fitzsimons, Mark and Tommy Walsh?
We were talking about it. We said Philly, Keane, O'Sullivan or Michael Fitzsimons are probably most ideally to match up, and just two of them not going to be starting. So
I think you would say as well, if Tommy comes on, the chances are Dublin turn around to the bench and send Rory O'Carroll in on top.
Or Philly. They'll have somebody earmarked for him when he comes on, but when he starts, I think.
He called for Rory O'Carroll in the other file, isn't it?
I think Rory O'Carroll, physique-wise, I don't want to judge Rory O'Carroll on a game where he had a lot of guys that were new to they're in there. It was a glorified exhibition game where fellas were getting the chance to show Jim Gavin I can play. So are they really worried about going back here to help Roy O'Carroll? Yeah, he got turned once or twice by quick Tyrone guys, but he's matched up against me fine in an All-Ireland final. He's big, he's strong, he's aggressive, and he'd probably be ideally matched that if I saw Tommy Walsh jogging on with 15 minutes to go, he'd probably be my guy himself, or Philly would be my guy to go in and try and...
Who's Martin Clifford?
It depends whether Fitzsimons goes in on top of Tommy Walsh.
Depends if Tommy starts. Yeah.
That's like Tommy starts and Fitzsimons is marking him. So
Johnny Cooper will pick up Gainey, I would say.
Johnny Cooper will pick up Gainey.
Whoever is the third one will pick up Clifford. Whether it could be any of the three that we've mentioned. It could be that they play.
I don't think Keane can mark Clifford.
No.
I don't think Philly can mark Clifford.
Do you not?
I don't.
I think Michael Fitzsimons is their idea
5 years ago, but I just don't. Clifford is, you know.
He might bring the dark arts. That's the.
Oh yeah, and no doubt he will. But you can bring that to Clifford. He's well able for all that.
What about defensively? Who's marking Conor Callaghan?
I think, a number of years ago, we had this potent full forward line. The year I was captain, I was dropped unfortunately, but we had James O'Donoghue, Paul Ganey and Gooch, and they put Philly and Johnny Cooper on them, and every time Dublin got a short kick out, these two lads went and pulled our most talented players 70, 80 yards away from the goals. And to be quite honest with you, if Con Callaghan was playing the next day, and I would put Tom Sullivan on him. Tom Sullivan has a very good record marking guys this year.
Probably the outstanding candidate, isn't he? Like
he is, and I think he's the guy best equipped to take Con away from our goals.
Ask
which
him
is
a different question.
Yeah, ask him a different question. You said it a minute ago. Lee Keegan took you down the pitch 3 times. It's nothing more.
I don't think Tyke Morley or Jason Foley will do that as much as Thomas Sullivan does.
No,
I think Thomas Sullivan has ended up here so many times during the championship.
Won't the Dubs just pass them off though? Won't they play zonally, so they're not.
But that's fine. It's all well and good to pass them off, but if Tom Sullivan goes up and kicks a point, the passing him off kind of goes, hold on, I'm going to go with him now the next time. And if Tom could do something like that early, again, if you're talking about being the aggressors, you're not being a reactor. You're not saying, we need Tommy Walsh now, we're reacting, we'll put him in now. You're being aggressive, you're going with Tommy. This is an aggressive mindset as well, to put Tom Sullivan on him and say, Tom, mark him, but when Kerry get the ball, go, we've licensed for you to go. And maybe a Gavin Crowley could sit in and hold for you or whatever, in case it breaks down. And we're not exposed totally, but if Con Callaghan is out here or out here for Dublin the next day, that's a huge win for Kerry.
Yeah, now he scored his goals in a couple of All-Ireland finals from the 40.
Yeah.
You see, against Dublin, I think you can fall into the trap of trying to contain them, and trying to contain too many players. Like, do you contain Mannion, Conor Callaghan, Kilkenny, Howard, Fenton, Jack McCaffrey, James McCarthy, and suddenly you have 7 of your team which have been detailed a job to go and mark. Like, you have to.
You have to have a cut-off for this if you're Kerry.
You have to, you have to
be cautious.
No, you can't. And you have to ask them a question. I don't, like Mayo in the first half, they played a controlled game in that semi-final. They wore them down. It was a war of attrition, just kind of. I don't think Kerry can do that. I think they're too forward-oriented for them to do that, which means that they just have to go for it.
Kerry are like Liverpool. They don't have the ability to just keep possession.
I think they're back. Like, they've just conceded. They've conceded a lot of scores this year.
Yeah.
And that's if it came to a shootout.
That's what it has to be, and it has to be a shootout where a day where Clifford gets 2-2 and Ganey gets 1-3 and Tommy Walsh hand passes 2 points and wins a penalty. It has to be but that requires this battle here is going to be essential.
Well, let's talk about that then. A lot of talk about Jack Barry, because there's been a couple of league games that he's done really well on Brian Fenton.
I think I reckon it'll be a 2-man job to go on Fenton. I think either Adrian Spillane will start and do that job, and then Barry will come on, or else it'll be the other way around. I don't think going for 70 minutes in Jack Barry's sense, where he's not really played a whole pile, he's been injured. I think it's very tough to ask him to go into an All-Ireland final and say, here, look, you're marking Brian Fenton for 70 minutes. It's extremely tough. Whereas if you say, like, look, we'll get you to half-time, see how you are, maybe get another 10-15 minutes out of him, and hopefully, I know league football and championship in Croke Park in the 1st of September is a big difference, but he is the only person probably over the last couple of years who's really held Fenton, or asked, really put him under a bit of pressure.
He's again, for me, if you're going to be the aggressors and you're going to attack this in an All-Ireland final day, which the crowd will want, and I think as players you'd want that message that we're going to go for it. It is a big call, but like Mike said, I think you have. Barry knows him. He's played college football with him for a few years. They played together with UCD, himself and Fenton, so they'd have a good understanding with it. Fenton would know that Jack is, a hard-nosed, kind of won't back down type character. So I think you go with him and you say, give me what you got, and we'll bring on somebody else. You know, Adrian Spillane was having a good enough summer, but he had a poor day against Tyrone. You always want to give a chance to a fella to atone for that. But physically, Jack is a lot bigger than Adrian, you know, and again, he has that understanding of the way Fenton likes to play. I'm sure they would have talked. If you're a midfield partner, Joe, for a few years in college, you kind of talk about where you want the ball, where you like the ball. Yeah. So you have to use that for your advantage. I heard Kobe Bryant recently talking about when he was in with the US Dream Team, or Jordan was in with the US Dream Team, and he used to be asking fellas, you know, kind of playing the let's win it for USA. But really what he was doing was for the playoffs the following year. He knew every guy's weakness. He knew what every guy wanted to do. So he was really cute.
Kerry blood, Michael Jordan.
Yeah, so maybe...
That's why they send a couple of them up to Dublin to go to college.
Exactly, yeah. No, I think you got to go with him, and I think, you know... And if you don't, and you go with Adrian's plan, I'd put Dave Moran on him and see if Dave can implement. Dave's got so much quality, he can implement his game and make Fenton actually worry about, hold on, where's that guy gone, or I can't let this guy pick out passes.
Moran makes the whole Kerry team tick when he's on the front foot.
Yeah.
But I think he'll mark Michael Dar McCauley, because I think he's probably the only person who's physically big enough to go against McCauley. McCauley is a raw, like, he's an animal. You know, he'll go as hard as he can for 50 minutes, and I think Moran is probably the one person who can handle that, I think.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, if you're doing one containment job on Dublin, it's probably on Fenton.
Okay.
Yeah, which is why you
maybe don't put Moran on him, because he makes the Kerry team tick so much. That's why you go with the other one.
Yeah, and it's only that if Jack Barry doesn't start, I think I'd prefer to put Dave on him.
Is this is McCaffrey and Stephen O'Brien?
I think James McCarthy will pick up Stephen O'Brien.
Right.
I think Kerry will want Gavin White on Jack McCaffrey, because Stephen O'Brien's got the pace to go with Jack McCaffrey, obviously, but you don't want
him completely exhausted.
Him kind of just on the back foot all day, and Dublin knowing that, like, if you're Dublin, and you know, you probably look to say go out and try and pick up Stephen O'Brien if you're Jack McCaffrey, to get him down here as much as you can, whereas Gavin White's natural back, so Kerry won't be too worried about him being back there.
And Gavin White has probably the attributes of a Durkin who did it against McCaffrey. Yeah. He's done it against Ryan Hugh, against Donegal as well.
Okay. What if Dublin decide that's not what they want?
That was what I was saying. I think if you were Dublin, I think you might go, right, Jack, you know, he didn't have the greatest day against Paddy Durkin a couple of days ago. Stephen O'Brien is your job. Get on top of Stephen O'Brien, because Stephen O'Brien's got Kerry's
strength as well.
Yeah.
Stephen's a really strong guy, like, and he's massive legs. He's low to the ground, and
he's been Kerry's best forward.
He has, and I think
he asks a different question than the rest of the Kerry forward line.
I think James's strength, and James McCarthy has ridiculous pace for his size. So I think James will be earmarked to take Stephen O'Brien out. Leave the two lads go at each other, and you've John Small inside and Sean O'Shea.
We've 2 minutes left. Did you want to talk to us about the press?
Just look. I suppose what Dublin are going to do on this press is look. It's been well documented, and it's been so good the way they do it. So they set up with their 4 guys. They pull these guys out a small bit, and they ask you so many questions, and you know, against Mayo, we did something like this, although we'd more of a kind of 4 banks of 4 formation, whereas Dublin have kind of tweaked it, I think, for the betterment. They're pulling these guys in a small bit, and they're leaving this little pocket here, and they want you to kick it out. But when you kick it out, to this pocket, they've got 3 guys that are converging on breaks, and they're winning a lot of those breaks. So Cluxton's obviously boot is essential, or Shane Ryan's boot is essential in this, and how he gets over, and how we do it. And I think what Kerry have to really, what Kerry have to do is start. What Dublin are brilliant at is this fist injure. So you kick it out here, and McCauley comes through and he fists it in, and they're on it. They're through on your middle. They're bearing down in goal, and it happened to Mayo time and time again at the start of that second half. So it's deadly dangerous. So I think Kerry have to aim a lot of their kickouts long and to the wings. And I think, I think Dave Moran and Jack Barry or whatever have to start here and really break hard towards the wings and try and get it where Kerry are getting bodies out here. If you lose it here, they fist it in, you're over here, you're fine. Your defenders over on this side now, the Kerry defenders can cheat in case you lose it, that you've got a bit of help and support there. I think that's hugely important.
Anthony Marr was brilliant at it with David Moran for years, where this is the weak spot, I would say, in this setup. If you set up with a man here, he can be held, and David Moran's going in front. Maher used to do it for years. He'd just stand in and one would go up in front, and you basically have an uncontested catch. Because in this setup, kicking it down the middle is the biggest no-no.
Oh yeah,
because it's fist, and then suddenly 4 of them are running.
Yeah, it's recipe for disaster.
You're hitting the halfway line.
Well, do you know what I do, Jar? I would tell the team, I would say, lads, have a look out when Dublin score. Have a look out. If Finton's over here, start drifting towards that side. We do this a lot with basketball. If you're trying to beat a zone in basketball, you overload it. That's the simple premise. If you dribble down the ball and you see a zone, first thing you hear every point guard in underage Irish basketball, they say overload. And what overload is you get more bodies out against somebody. So if I see Finton over here and my team know that, okay, we're not going to Finton's side, because you just don't want to give him oxygen. Again, this is if Jack Barry's on him, because Dublin are going to hit Finton enough with kickouts. So you're saying Finton is not going to contest one of our kickouts. We'll kick it to Macaulay or Howard or James McCarthy, anybody else but him, because he's the linchpin. You don't want to feed him with oxygen. So you look out, Finton's over here, I'd be sending guys over that way.
Especially if McCarthy is here as well.
Yeah.
You don't want to kick it that side.
Yeah.
You're targeting the other wing.
I'd be saying wherever Finton is, I'd have a good understanding with my team that we're not kicking it out Finton's side. Let's turn out, have a look. You see Finton there, just start drifting over the other side, because that's where we're going with it. So can you gamble, get in off breaks? Can Shane Ryan pick out a ball here where you might have 3 dubs, 4 Kerry fellas, breaks down, away you go, and hopefully your Gainies is coming out there as an outlet or whatever. And
there's a space here because they're pressing.
Well, yeah, but as soon as that kick out goes there, they'll start retreating back straight away to get their shape. But it's
the most impressive thing about that press, and we were chatting about it, is the fact that they're able to get into it in open play.
I think they're getting into it in open play, Mike, because Kerry are playing so many, our teams are playing so many
bends against them.
Yeah, that if you're a team playing against Dublin and you've got all these bodies back,
there's no reason for them not to do it.
There's no reason for them not to do it. These guys are sitting out here doing nothing. So what they do is, as soon as it starts looking like that Dublin are going to get a score, these guys start moving forward, and they're ready then that when that ball is kicked and it goes dead, they're ready to get into whatever slot they're supposed to have and allow this wall of 4 of McCarthy, Finton, Macaulay and Brian Howard.
Does everybody do this? Does everybody have this press?
It's starting to come. The Compromise Rules team played against the Aussies in 2015, and the Aussies did this and were murdered by it early on by Ireland, because Ireland got catches and brilliant foot passes and got goals out of it early on. But in the second half, Aussies kept with it and really caused them a lot of trouble with this. And it was something that the Hawthorn Hawks did, and it was something I talked to Ty Kennelly about. And when I went to Eamon to look at this before the 2016 semi-final against Dublin, I said we need to throw something at Dublin that Cluxton puts down the ball and sees a wall of Kerry guys and kind of goes, hold on, this is a bit different.
That's the biggest thing about the press. It's painting the picture for the opposition goalie that there's nothing on. Literally nothing at all. When he looks up and goes, oh.
Yeah, if you're going to give Dublin every position here and they're able to come up, I know what Dublin have done is they've said, okay, we can do that. We've got the personnel for that. And not only can we do it from set plays like we did it in 16, so every time we did close and free in 16,
everyone pushes.
We said, take your time over the free. We'll be able to get guys up into their slots. But what Dublin are now is they're so used to having so many bodies up and playing against so many defenders that when the ball goes dead, they're in the positions, and they're not too worried if Macaulay finds himself in here and Scully's out here. They're not too worried. It's the principle of it is very simple. If it comes out your way, box it back in, unless you're sure obviously that you can catch it. If you can catch it clean, you catch it clean, but their orders, I'd say, would be box it and break it in.
All right, that was great. We'll stick that up on YouTube separately. Of course, next week's Shot Clock will be back to its normal format, but it is a special week, obviously, because it's just before the Ireland football final. Let's bring you a bit of storytelling from Sneem. This is Stopping the Drive for 5 by Killian Burns.
Can they turn on a sixpence in the twinkle of an eye, or spray the ball from end to end, or pluck it from the sky? Of course we can, you culchie. We've all of that and more. 1 million blue bloods, Poor and Goff, and even the Air Corps. Don't play your shrinking violet. We know we're in a fight. So park the feckin' yeras and don't be talking shy. Oh, could there be an upset? Could the horse reject the jockey? Look at Seamus Darby 82 or the Russian versus Rocky. We have the stuff to do it. We'll play it straight and fair. We'll even bring our own bottled water from the hills above Kenmare. I dreamt a dream the other night. Con O'Callaghan was on Tinder. He fell in love with a Clifford girl and he was mad to go and meet her. She lured him into coppers the night before the match and Kerry won the final while Con stayed on the lash. Now, while in this premonition she had stopped the drive for 5, the Scarlet Woman's master plan was to keep our hopes of fame alive. For Con settled in Killarney and they started a stud farm, and 7 young lads later he became our lucky charm. For 'twasn't long before Con's boys were the backbone of our team, with their strength and speed and guile and deeds fueled by a blue blood stream. Before waking from this dream, I was in Croke Park, filled with glee. I saw Kerry win the 5 in a row in 2043. When we come to the end of time, the history books might state that Dublin won the 5 in a row. Maybe it's just our fate. But in the little homes of Kerry, tales will continue to be told of the mighty kingdom Laochra Gaels that have worn the green and gold.
Killian Burns, good morning to you. How are you doing?
Very good, man.
That was class.
Looking forward to even wearing a jersey, and it's kind of taboo for forward players to wear jerseys because it looks like they're up their own arse. But I said I'd go for it this morning.
I love it that it's the actual final jersey of 97 too.
This has not been washed in 22 years, so I pulled it out of the cupboard this morning. It's a bit rank, to be honest.
Stale sweat, there's nothing like it. It's like a Junior B game all over again.
Yeah.
Just the crack, I suppose, just touching off of something, Killian, you broke through in 97 to win that All-Ireland, and it was I was a young fella inside in second year in the Green when you came in with the cup into Tralee. William Kirby and Pal Aiden, the boys took it in, and I know you were probably around all over South Kerry with it, but what was it like in the build-up, I suppose, to that game for you as a team who hadn't been to a final before, who was trying to get over the line? That a lot of there's 17 lads here on Sunday that are playing in their first final. Is there anything that you can remember from, the week leading up to the game or the night before the game?
Me personally, I'm kind of confident and sound in my own skin. I didn't start to get too wound up about it, except just listen to counsel from people that went through it in the past, I suppose the beauty of being kind of the 21, which a lot of us were kind of hovering around that age, 20, 21, 22, and we were almost in the majority. You just don't really start to take in the significance of what's happening in a larger scale, other than obviously you're in an All-Ireland final, and obviously you're going to be nervous. There's no doubt about that. But you're kind of the things that you think about when you're 43, you don't think about when you're 23. You're not kind of thinking about the massive history. The way you're representing your county, the way it affects people that you don't know. So that's the one thing I'll say about this is that they're all young lads. I mean, they put as much prominence in a lovely girl they met last week as an All-Ireland final. They just go into it. There's 1 to 6, these kind of odds. It's crazy for Kerry. We have that lingering confidence, where you can play football from Kerry, and it's literally the perfect intro into this final for them. I mean, it was the same for us really. Paddy was there. He gave us a bit of guidance on how to manage ourselves, but I mean, you start to play freely on those days when you're a bit younger, I think, and the lads have proved it. They've done it. They're a little bit before time, but an old quote said, to achieve great things, you need two things. You need a plan and not enough time. We definitely don't have enough time. Or 2 years too early, maybe, but you can be sure Peter Keenan will have a plan.
Yeah, he will, and you're right in yourself. Reading Dara's article as well during the week, and he was saying something similar, is that there's a great sense of freedom that the Kerry players can play with the next day, and it's actually the Dublin fellas that will be playing with that. There are a lot of older heads inside in that dressing room, and a lot of them probably looking at, if we win this, we can get out the door as heroes. So they will have the bit more pressure, but that sense of freedom is really kind of good for a young team. Was there much video done with Paddy, before that 97 final? Was the meeting the night before the game? I know I heard the Dublin lads, Barry Cahill, saying that Pat Gilroy had done a mock parade and stuff the week before the game. We going down that road, or was it more relaxed than that?
No, I mean, that sounds sort of fairly ridiculous, but maybe it's not. I mean, that's sort of military stuff. But I mean, all we did was do what we did the year before. We were up there the year before, so all you care about is recent history, right? And that's why there's parallels kind of here. I think is us as young lads, we lost to Mayo the year before, and we felt shit about that, and we said that's not going to happen again. So we got to All-Ireland final, and lads, when we're here, we're not going to lose it. And that was the kind of feeling, We were kind of looking at Mayo, and we need to get one back on Mayo because they kind of caught us on the hop the year before. So, video analysis is another thing. I mean, I remember I was in Dublin. It was his video analysis. No, Paddy. He had 2 video recorders, and I don't know how he actually knitted the 2 things together. But he was getting one video recording something, then putting it into another video recorder, and piecing stuff together. When you think back on it now, when they have statistical teams on board, it was a very different story. So he had his video analysis of some sort, but really it was about routine. It was going down to the Blackrock College, going for a kick the morning of the match, staying in the same hotel, all what we'd done 12 months earlier. And what I would be looking at the players, what I would be saying to the players is what are they thinking about Dublin? They're not thinking about 5 in a row history. Those lads were in school 5 years ago, a lot of them. So they're thinking about, we beat them in the league, lads. I was at that match in Tralee. That was a tough match. Dublin wanted to win that match, I can assure you. And they put the pressure on with about 5 minutes to go. And Kerry took a few chances, and it paid dividends, and we got a couple of points. They won that game. So, that's the recent history that I'd be playing up. That management team needs to be reinforcing. Lads, you've beaten them already. You can beat them again.
Yeah, and a lot of the Dublin lads, and that's an interesting point. A lot of the Dublin lads, referenced that league game in 2011 where they were the team that were trying to make the breakthrough, albeit that that group were a lot older and a bit more experienced, but they put a lot of stock into a league victory by a point against us in 2011, and they said that they talked about that in the lead up to the final, where that was our 7th final in 8 years, that squad, and we were the experienced boys, and we were the fellas that had been there and done it all, and that Dublin team came along and beat us. So would you give Kerry a chance on that basis, that, as you rightly say, that you just keep it very simple and say, look, we beat these guys in the league, that most of their players that are going to be playing tomorrow are playing. It'll be tougher, they're obviously more comfortable in Croke Park. But do you read it as 6 points, or do you give Kerry a better chance than that?
No, I mean, that's just like a sort of reassurance that, look, we played them before, we've beaten them, they're the only team that have contested with them, and they are young. We didn't get past the Super 8s. This is a massive achievement to get to where we got to. But they need a plan, and you've gone through all that. There's no point in overanalyzing it. But I've never seen so many media to start to analyse and break down Dublin, and it feels like it's started to only come to light maybe in the last 3 weeks, more so than ever. Because obviously the whole focus is on 2 teams, and especially Dublin. And talking about their the wall they have, and lads lending to the conversation about how you might break that down, how you might start to bring more Kerry players over to one side to start to break up that wall, all that type of stuff. That's all great stuff, because there's a lot to think about for Peter, but there's a lot of options, when there's so much analysing going on, like, I mean, it's not like they're going to come up with anything new. So, like, the more they do this, the more opportunities other teams are going to have of breaking down their winning formula, if you know what I mean, because they can't hide it. They can't come up with new stuff all the time. What they do have is supreme athletes, lads that can be on the ground, surrounded by 3 men, and literally jump up into the air and kick it over the bar. I mean, they're supreme athletes, and they're more than deserving winners. There's no doubt about that. But I would be more than hopeful that if things kind of click into action. I can't see Conor Callum scoring 2 goals in the semi-final and then again in the final. It just doesn't happen. David Clifford needs to score a goal or 2. Geeney, those boys need to score a goal.
Yeah.
They've scored the points and they've contributed. I would be hopeful. I would be more than hopeful.
Killian, great stuff. You are going to be performing, I think, at the Sneem International Storytelling Festival in November.
That's right, the 8th to the 10th of November in my native Sneem. And anyone that wants to see that kind of gallery and crack, please come down.
It should be great. It will be great. You've been telling stories brilliantly for, I'd say, about 20 years at this stage, and they're getting even better, Killian. Good stuff. Thanks a million.
Thanks, Killian.
Thanks, Killian.
First saw Killian do that on a TV show that we did on RTE in 2005. That's how long I've been watching Killian tell those stories, and that was the best one I've seen.
Yeah, no, he's very good at that. He's very good at that stuff. He's a great character, a great man with a few
That team sounds like it was a good team to hang out with.
Yeah, serious.
The Sneem International Storytelling and Folklore Festival takes place from the 8th to the 10th of November. Details on Sneem Storytelling Festival.
If you would have test your pulse now above electric picnic.
4 minutes past 9 this morning. You're watching OTB AM. We're back talking rugby next.
OTB AM on OTB Sports Radio, Ireland's first and only sports radio station.
I hear you some wiring needs a fixing, ma'am. The name's Buzz, on account of my work.
No chance.
Not all cowboys ride horses. All safe electric registered electrical contractors must give you a certificate of completion that shows their work meets approved standards. Find one nearby on safeelectric.ie.
OTB AM.
All right, you're very welcome back. Yeah, you're very welcome back. Alan Quinlan has joined us. Alan, how are you?
Just checking to see if my mic is on.
It is, apparently. Yeah, we can hear you loud and clear, yeah.
Very good.
Come here, I haven't asked you for your prediction.
Surrounded by greatness here.
Yeah.
Good tip man here. Yeah. And a good Kerry man as well.
Oh, boy.
Both of us basking in the warm glow of an All-Ireland
long streaks.
Yeah. You're not far off it yourself.
What's your prediction?
Dublin by 3 or 4, I'd say.
Right. I'm getting more talked into the weight of history. I think if you think about semi-finals and finals, Dublin can't improve from that semi-final. I don't think that's like they're.
Oh, they can, Ger. They were awful in the first. They weren't awful in the first half, but
they're slow starters. They were slow starters against me. They were slow starters against Tyrone in last year's All-Ireland final.
Yeah.
They've been traditionally slow starters. Even when they got an early goal in the All-Ireland final the previous year, they were no good for the rest of the first half.
Yeah.
They're not a team who are designed to go and kill you in the first 15 minutes. And I think that gets Kerry in the game, and I think Kerry gets chances.
They're so well. We never talked about there, but the set plays that they're having, like this ball up in the air twice and it's kicked in high. Niall Scully the last day bounced it twice for the game after. So they're so smart. Their game intelligence is off the charts, and I think they're 5 or 6 years under Gavin. That whole team are together 5 or 6 years. They're just going to have a great understanding that if this thing is in the melting pot, they've all that experience to lean back on. But you've young Kerry racehorses.
Shut up, lads. You've already had an hour.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, okay.
That's what he said in the ad break. I was like, come on. There's an important game.
There's a proper game to talk about. Is that what you said?
That's it, Jeff.
Yeah. Ireland and Wales in a friendly, is it?
That's it, Jeff. Very important friendly.
Popping back at Warren Gatland.
Exactly. Speaking of psyching people out, Warren Gatland's at it again. Good man, Warren Gatland. Like, Ireland obviously needed a big performance, and now Warren has managed to lob his usual grenades. This Ireland team, a bit old. We can derail them. What did you think of that?
Yeah, I thought he's right. They can derail him and they can unsettle him. And he does say it's professional sport, and he's kind of demanding his play. The perfect scenario for Warren Gatland was for on Saturday would be for his perceived second string players to play unbelievably well and beat Ireland and have a convincing win. And that's all he's worried about. He's not worried about Ireland and the problems they have and the issue they had last week.
It's you in happier times with your buddy Warren?
Times, yeah.
You get on well with Warren?
Yeah, I do. He picked me in the lines in 2009 and...
He'd like a good trash talker, I'd say. Quinny was good at that stuff.
When you know him, some of the stuff is literally, he's just kind of rolling out little bombs there just to create.
If you're Joe Schmidt this week, though, normally you would ignore all that, but if you're Joe Schmidt this week, you're going, this is what he's saying about you. This is what he's talking about you ahead of this game. No?
Yeah.
Schmidt needs... I think we should talk a little bit about what Schmidt did this week. He came out and had a press conference on Tuesday, and a friend of mine who was like, that's a Jedi mind trick here. He's controlling the narrative. I was like, that's an interesting take on this. Because normally he doesn't do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, but I thought he was right to do it. Because leadership, I think, was an issue at the weekend, and when leadership is questioned in any group, or if it's possibly waning or there's problems, you need someone to come out and take hold of the reins and say, look, this is what's happened. We take responsibility, and this is our plan, and this is our focus. If he'd sent out Richie Murphy or Simon Easterby or someone like that. So I think he made a good decision in doing that. I don't think he was trying to control and dampen things, because to be fair to Joe, sometimes he bats off stuff and he's good at that, but he was pretty honest from last Saturday, right from the first press conference or first interview he did right through to the press conference, and since that it was unacceptable that the players are really, really poor and they let themselves down. So I look at it different. I said, I'm glad he was coming out because he's shown leadership. Now, what he's doing behind the scenes to get the players right and ready, I'm sure they're in fear of their lives this week. The squad has been picked on Sunday, and it has to be submitted to World Rugby by Monday. It's not been announced till a week after. So
it'll leak immediately.
Yeah, it'll probably get out next week, but it's last chance saloon basically for some guys. Now, we look from Italy, England, and this Welsh game. The way the team has changed, and there's a certain number of players who are, I think, playing for a lifeline here to get on that plane. And if they underperform on Saturday, he has no choice
but to drop them.
And I think he will. And I think he should. Well, look, we mentioned him on Monday here. There's lots of people. I suppose the depth, and we did our back row depth chart there last year, where we're naming 9 or 10 guys, aren't we?
Yeah.
That's down to about 6 or 7 now. One open side, with respect to Jordy Murphy and Tommy O'Donnell, but one kind of out and out 7 that's, with Levy and O'Brien gone, it really narrows down that. Now, there is opportunity for Jordy Murphy. Tommy O'Donnell is not involved this week. The back row just looks at that a little bit bare. CJ Stander didn't play well last weekend. It's an opportunity for Jack Conan. But I think the interesting one is Tyg Byrne, the way they're looking at him as a 6, giving him a start. We know he's played second row for Munster a lot, and he's played in both those positions when he was with the Scarlets. So I think there's a great opportunity for Tyg Byrne. If he plays well in the back row, he didn't play well in that loss in Cardiff as a second row.
He's playing at 6, but I think it's also interesting that the captain is playing at 7. Is there possible...
Yeah, well, I think Joe's looking at him as an option as his next 7, or maybe starting 7, particularly if you go to the South African scenario or the New Zealand scenario in a quarter-final, that if you look at South Africa, they play Peter Steph Toy as a 6. They have probably 4 second rows that they play in that back 5, and they're incredibly physical. So Peter maybe gives that little bit of aggression and bit of doggedness as a 7. Josh van der Fleer is an incredible player, I think, and he, along with his 2 colleagues, didn't play well last week. But I think we're getting physically, and the one thing I said before the game last week, physically, we're just getting bashed around a little bit, and something has to give there. Somebody has to step up, and with James Ryan coming back in, he brings so much energy and enthusiasm. I think Ian Henderson can be passive as well, and you want your second rows being enforcers and being aggressive. And
Henderson has the physicality, of course, the ability to do it.
When he's on song, he can be so influential and devastating as a ball carrier, and he's a big personality. But sometimes I think, and I mean this very respectfully to Henderson and Josh van der Fleer, they're quiet. They're not animated. I just love to see a little bit more aggression and out of them and a bit more in-your-face approach, if you like. So I think teams are trying to bully us a little bit. And it goes back to what I said before. Our discipline has been incredible in the last number of years. We need to push the boundaries a little bit and be in your face a little bit more. But the big problem last week, as we spoke about, was the line-out, set-piece, strike plays. You cannot play if your scrum line-out is not right. Line-out was the big malfunction last weekend. So for this weekend, when I say guys are playing for opportunities, they're literally playing for a place in the plane, because I think Joe will have no choice but to make changes if they don't step up and perform this weekend.
Kilcoyne has a chance of starting multiple games at the World Cup for us with the injury that Cian Healy has suffered. We don't know, we never get good details about what the injury situation is with the Ireland team, but he's been in great form, right?
Yeah, he had a really good look. He's improved a lot. I think his primary focus on Saturday has to be get the scrum right, perform there, and then offer himself as a ball carrier. The more ball carriers you have in your forward pack, the better. Making hard yards, but he's a great explosiveness. And
is scrummaging a weakness for him?
No, it's not. It's not a weakness. I think it's just it consistently needs to be to make sure that that's number one rather than the carrying side of his game. He's an incredible ball carrier. So there's a great opportunity for him and for Niall Scannell as well as hooker.
Yeah, Scannell's not playing for a place in the plane at this stage. Scannell's playing for the starting role in the big games, right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. And Rory's on the bench, so Rory's going to come on at some stage, and he's got to, whether it's 10, 15, 20 minutes, he's got to deliver.
Sean Cronin's watching Rory Best's performance from the bench going, oh, you might be able to play on the bench, right? But he can't. Can he?
Well,
he's not going to make an impact in this game.
No, Cronin is the one, and he hates the tag of the impact player. He's 50,
has to be, yeah.
He's 50-something caps off the bench for Ireland.
But he's so unbelievable coming in, which is important.
He just brings energy, and you want to bring in guys.
Herring started the Italy game. Did he do enough in that game 3 weeks ago?
No, but I think he did enough in Australia to show that he has to be considered, and that's why he's kind of in this mix, in this group. So it'll be an interesting one. I think it's not a good place at the moment, no matter what they say, because they're not. To deal with what happened last Saturday is a really negative situation.
Yeah.
Given, the Six Nations and the disappointment at the end of the season for them in Six Nations. They've got to fight through this.
We're exactly 8 weeks now from the quarter-final date.
Yeah.
So the team doesn't need to peak yet.
They don't.
The last 2 years have been about peaking for that quarter-final game, right?
Yeah.
We have to get to that quarter-final game, no matter who it's against. Yeah. So is the level we're coasting at, it needs to rise and then...
It does need to rise, and it needs to rise this weekend. And look, they just need to get a positive vibe back in the group and play some rugby and a bit of feel-good factor. They're still probably all on tenterhooks that the squad is not picked. Mm-hmm. They won't know that, supposedly, themselves.
I was thinking about this. We did a panel, I'd say a week and a half into the last World Cup. So obviously 4 years ago, next week or the week after, and we'd Rhys Ruddock and Mike McCarthy in studio. Both of them ended up playing in that World Cup. So the squad gets named, but it's not the end, right?
No, it's not. A lot can change very quickly. I got called into the 99 World Cup squad after missing out initially, and we've seen that over the years. David Wallace got called in for me in 2003. It can change very, very quickly, and
I'm pretty sure Rhys Ruddock starts the World Cup quarter-final against Argentina. I might be wrong about that, but if he doesn't, he certainly gets game time. So
yeah, he did.
Do you think it's more beneficial to do what England have done and name it a couple of weeks ago?
Well, we did that in 07, Michael, and it didn't work out well, because we played Scotland around the 15th, or maybe sometime early August. Eddie announced the squad, and didn't really work out that World Cup squad for us. Look, hindsight's a great thing. Yeah. If Ireland go and do well in the World Cup, we'll say, master plan from Joe, the preparation, who cares about the warm-ups? But there was just a little bit more to last Saturday that was concerning.
It doesn't look like a master plan at this stage.
Not.
If it works out,
it doesn't. But we talked about it. Like it's in sport. Like momentum is a funny thing, and belief is a funny thing in a team, and it can take one or two instances to generate that and get it. Next thing, every fella grows a few percent. You know, it's.
And sometimes I think because I'm embedded in the rugby, and am I being biased? Given what they did in 2018. And they hit this brick wall, and I know from a tactical point of view, but are we right or wrong? Is this team still good enough, do you think?
What do you think?
I think they are. I think they haven't become bad. I think they've become... Are
they jaded?
No, I think they've come up against teams who've... Like I said this, and people can disagree with me. Teams have figured us out a little bit, how to stop us.
Yeah,
so if we win those 6 lineouts last week, Ger, we can play a bit. And I thought the first 20 minutes, 25 minutes, we were actually good.
But it was so fragile.
But then you lose. Like, we lost the lineout. On 31 minutes, we lost the lineout in our own 22, right? We're attacking the English line. We lose that lineout. 2 minutes later, we have a lineout 10 yards out from our line. We lose that line-out.
Didn't we lose line-outs in the Aviva against England last year? And didn't we lose line-outs against Wales? And they hammered us in both those games.
Absolutely. So
you're saying it's fixable?
Well, absolutely. I'd be 100% sure you can fix the line-out, because I've been involved in line-outs all my life, and the calling system was poor last week. The execution was
poor.
So
Henderson's not going to get that gig again.
Well, he may do, but I think he just needs to be better at it. He needs to be quicker.
I wanted to ask you about, it's awkward, Joe Schmidt says, for Felix Jones to suddenly be in the South Africa camp, given that he was in Japan with the Ireland camp 2 years ago.
Yeah.
It's not awkward. It's a massive oversight on the part of the IRFU. It's mismanagement on the part of Irish rugby to allow somebody who knows exactly what the setup is to go and join our most likely World Cup quarterfinalists.
I think he was offered roles and stuff like that. It's impossible to stop all, to kind of
give
cover
him a job
all,
with the senior team for the World Cup.
Cover all. But then, if you're covered, are you giving guys jobs to just make sure they don't go somewhere else?
Yes, for the World Cup, for this one, like it's 6 months, here's a 6 month contract, come and work, and Felix is like, okay, maybe he's not, because he sees what's happening, but like, Rassie Rasmus's gone, I love you, you're great. And he's been talking Felix Jones up the whole time.
Yeah,
it's not like it was going to be a secret when this happened.
It's more than awkward, because he does know a lot of the stuff and the preparation and the mentality, and Rassie would know a fair bit about the Irish players as well, and Jack Nienenbar. So if it comes down to...
He's literally been in the Ireland setup with Joe Schmidt in Japan preparing for the World Cup in 2 years.
Rassie would have been in the Irish squad sessions as well at times, when he was with Munster and at different stages. The same way Johan van Graan has been. I met him over in Scotland at the Six Nations. So you can cover every avenue.
Apparently we were the best prepared team of all time, but not quite.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for him.
It's great. I'm delighted for him. He deserves it.
It is, yeah. It's a lovely gig for him.
Alan, good stuff. We'll see you Monday morning. Thanks very much.
With loads of positivity.
Yeah,
hopefully.
exactly. We're going to win this game, though, right? This is a game that Ireland are going to win.
It's not a bad Wales side, even though it's the second string. But I hope so.
Right.
I'm a bit like Kerry against Dubs now.
21 minutes past 9. This is your last call to enter our fantastic competition, with thanks to Dominic Smith, Expert Electrical, this morning, where you can win a state-of-the-art TV and home entertainment system worth $4,000. Phil Egan's going to join us in studio next, but first, John Giles joined us in studio last night on Off the Ball to respond to last weekend's Sunday Times story about the John Giles Foundation. John had this to say.
Last weekend, the Sunday Times reported on allegations made about me by Con Martin, the former League of Ireland footballer. I have taken legal advice in relation to these allegations and have taken steps to deal with the false claims made. However, I do want to address certain important issues at this time, after which I will not be able to comment until the legal situation is resolved. The article tried to link these allegations to the John Giles Foundation, which is a not-for-profit trust set up in 2008, not 2011, as the article incorrectly stated. Although Mr. Martin originally came up with the idea for the foundation and the Walk of Dreams, he never had an involvement in the foundation. He was not, as claimed, nominated by me to the foundation. When I was asked, I was happy to put my name to what I believe to be a worthy cause for grassroots football, and I still believe that it is a great cause and a worthwhile project. The claim Mr. Martin made that he's been running the John Giles Golf Classic for 8 years is also untrue. Mr. Martin has never organised or run the Golf Classic, which in fact has only been run for 5 years and he had nothing to do with it from the start. Although it was stated that I was a pal of Mr. Martin, this is not correct. At one stage I'd considered him a friend, but I had a serious falling out with him a number of years ago, and I have not considered him a friend since then. Any arrangements Mr. Martin had or claims he had with the FAI had nothing to do with me or the foundation. I can only say that for my part, I never agreed or authorised any arrangements or payments of any type to Mr. Martin. UEFA have confirmed since the publication of the article that there was never any payment to the FAI for the charity walk idea, as Con Martin has claimed. The suggestion from Mr. Martin that I told him that there was such an arrangement with UEFA is utterly true and ludicrous. Sadly, this article and the negative publicity based on it will probably have an effect on the foundation and the raising of money for school children's football, which have ongoing needs for financial help. I've been happy to play a part in raising much needed funds for the grassroots football, and I'm delighted that we have raised and distributed over €700,000 to clubs throughout the country. Despite the recent controversy and difficulties within the FAI, I will still continue to work to raise funds for the foundation to assist the grassroots over the coming years.
All right, that was John Giles reading a statement last night on Off the Ball to Nathan, and he said that he couldn't say any more due to... Obviously, there's loads of questions that we want to put to John to get all of the available information out into the light, but he said last night, because of the ongoing legal situation, until that's resolved, he won't be able to answer those questions, so obviously it's not really fair to ask them if he can't answer them at this point, but we will ask John those questions, and he said he'd be more than happy to come in and deal with absolutely everything as soon as that legal situation is resolved. Just one note, that is national hero John Giles, who has given his entire life to football in Ireland, forced into reading a statement that he then can't answer questions about. And if you think about us reaching this point in the narrative, then you have to wonder how badly was Irish football run that one of the key people in Irish football, our archetypal football man, is reduced to this situation. And I'm very saddened by that. And I think that you reach a point in this narrative where you're like, what the fuck did we do to get here? Where we're forcing John to sit here in this studio and read out a pre-prepared legal statement. So I hope that when this is all resolved, the people who are responsible for putting him in that situation are exposed, and I hope that all the details come out so we fully understand just how badly Irish football has been run over the last decade and who the people are who are at the centre of that and are responsible for the situation we find ourselves in. That's my 2 cents. Phil.
Well, how are you doing?
I'm good. I'm pissed off that.
The Brian Kerr stories as well doesn't... it's not good either. The
media
stories.
watchdog.
Yeah, I mean, that's like the former manager of Ireland, and this is a role that somebody suggests for him. You know, he's better than that. Europa League draws today. Last night it was about the Champions League draw. And
Our Europa League draw, we're all excited for this, aren't we?
Yeah, well, there's a few United fans...
Go back to present it.
There's a few United fans in the office where like they probably have to get Google out to look at some of the teams that they're playing against. There was even a few lads yesterday who forgot that they're not in the Champions League. The Champions League draw being yesterday, but Eric Cantona...
Are you serious?
I almost forgot that United aren't in the Champions League, but the aim for them is to get back next season. But Eric Cantona raised a few eyebrows in Monaco. He was there to receive the UEFA President's Award in recognition of his career, and I don't know why someone thought it was a good idea to ask Eric Cantona, what's going on in your mind? That's the most open question. You need to give him questions where they're pretty shut and he is forced into answering in a particular way. Give him an open canvas and he'll quote King Lear and he'll talk about how science can slow the aging process. Here's just a quick snippet of it.
And so we become eternal. Only accidents, crimes, wars will still kill us. But unfortunately, crimes and wars will multiply. I love football.
Loves football. The draw today for the Europa League, Celtic, Rangers and Wolves are all going to be in there because they came through their second legs and won last night in the playoff round. Celtic won 4-1 away to Swedish side AIK, so they won 6-1 over the two legs. Rangers, it looked like it was heading into extra time at Ibrox, but Alfredo Morella scored an injury time to give them a 1-0 win over Legia Warsaw. Ibrox is where Rangers and Celtic will meet on Sunday in the first Old Firm of the season. Wolves beat Torino 2-1 at Molineux, making it 5-3 in aggregate. Linfield went out in away goals, finished 4-4 with Qarabag in aggregate, but Qarabag went through due to the 2 goals that they scored at Windsor Park last week. Manchester United and Arsenal will also be in today's draw. It gets underway in Monaco just after midday. Busy night of Electricity League action in the Premier Division. Dublin rivals Shamrock Rovers and Bohemians meet at Tallaght Stadium. That's the pick of the games. League leaders Dundalk are away to UCD. Neil Fenn's first game in charge at Cork City, a home game against Sligo Rovers. Waterford host Derry City and Finn Harps play St Pat's. On 3 under par, Rory McIlroy's got plenty of work to do heading into a second round at the Omega European Masters in Switzerland. He is now 7 shots off the lead because Gavin Green is tearing it up. He's 10 under. Pádraig Harrington's out in the course. He is 3 over par. Wimbledon champion Simona Halep is out of the US Open. She lost to American Taylor Townsend in the second round. 15-year-old Coco Gauff, though, is into the third round, and she will play defending champion and world number 1 Naomi Osaka in the third round. Roger Federer, Serena Williams, Novak Djokovic all in third round action later on today. 2 Irish boxers will be looking to advance to the finals at the European Elite Championships in Madrid today. Amy Broadhurst goes up against Mira Pokkanen in the lightweight semi-finals. That name might sound familiar. Pokkanen is the boxer that beat Katie Taylor in Rio. And Roscommon middleweight Aoife O'Rourke will take on Russian Anastasia Shamanova.
Give us quick predictions for the Champions League groups.
Okay, Group A,
Paris, Real Madrid, Club Brugge, Galatasaray.
Yeah, so PSG and Real Madrid you're looking at there. Group B, you've got Bayern Munich, Spurs, Olympiacos and Red Star. I'd go...
Oh, it's not Red Star. What's the real name?
Quinlan Zvezda.
Hey!
Bayern Munich and Spurs, I would imagine. City are going to win their group.
Shakhtar Donetsk, Dinamo Zagreb.
That's a tough one.
Atalanta. Is it?
Yeah.
No, it's not. Phil, it's not.
No, City were going to win.
City are going to win. So who's
tough to pick second? Yeah,
okay.
That's a tough one to call.
Take the groups back up for Sterry. Yeah, Atalanta.
Like people think because they're Italian, they'll get through. But look, Wolves have just dispatched Torino in the Europa League. Zagreb and Donetsk. Throw in a cliche, they're going to be tough places to go.
Good technically.
So I saw Zagreb in the Europa League last season. They were decent. So I'll go with Atlanta just about. Juve, Atletico, that's how I would go.
Leverkusen and Lokomotiv Moscow are the other teams in that one.
Liverpool are going to go through with Napoli, I think.
Salzburg and Genk in that one.
Yeah, Liverpool have the Genk games, the back-to-back third and fourth games, so it's worked out for them. The Group F is the toughest group. Barcelona, Borussia Dortmund, Inter Milan is the 3 teams to look out for.
Inter Milan have Alexis Sanchez and Lukaku up front. They're shite.
Yeah, plus Conte's actually got a really poor record in the Champions League, so I'm going to go Dortmund and Barca. Zenit, Benfica, Lyon, Leipzig. Leipzig will get through that, and I think Lyon. That's a tough one. Chelsea's group is very easy. Ajax, Valencia, Lille. Lille have lost their best player. Valencia aren't what they used to be. Ajax have the spine of the team ripped out.
Really? Is it? I mean, they're also still the first season of... Yeah. Are you feeling confident as a Chelsea fan?
Yeah, I think we get through that, yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I like what I've seen so far by Chelsea. We're a bit open, but I like the way we're playing.
Have Valencia not improved?
They're getting better, but...
Since Gary Neville left.
Yeah, I think Chelsea and Valencia are going to go through. Ajax last season was their season. Unfortunately,
I beat Chelsea, Ajax. No, I know they've lost, but they'll still have huge belief from last year, and no doubt that they've some fellas coming through that we probably don't know of that'll probably be.
Yeah, they were really good. They weren't too convincing in the playoffs or in the qualifiers, Ajax. But
yeah, they 0-0 the first game. What did they win the second game?
I feel like they were on the way out at one point, didn't it?
Yeah, they'll be. Yeah, they'll be.
And they'll get better. There's a bunch of kids who are coming through like the tournament. That's my theory. My new working theory is that this Kerry team are going to improve vastly, and it's going to be a much closer game.
Sunday could come too early.
We didn't talk about the referee once. I think that there's a strong possibility that there is a sending off in the All-Ireland final. There's a lot of pressure. I think there's more pressure on this referee than there's been in a long time because of all the stuff that was around it, and because it's been so long for him to get to the point where he's getting the final. I hope there isn't, but I wouldn't be terribly surprised if there was a red card early enough.
Yeah, he's under a lot of pressure, in fairness, because regardless of whether he makes the decision either way, it's going to be looked at.
After the hurling as well,
do you know,
like it's an unusual situation in that there was a big call made where everybody went, that ruined the game, and yet I'm sure the referees, assessors were like, you did exactly the right thing, you did what you're supposed to do.
I think so. Social media has changed the role of the referee in the last while. Everybody knows everything about everyone now, so I think David Goff is the outstanding candidate. I think he's been the best referee this year. It's just he's under a lot of pressure going into that game. Yeah.
We had it as a topic last week. We talked about it in Lint. I think it's a game where Darragh O'Shea, the article you wrote early on, you got to crash in early and test where David Goff is at. You know, if this is a wet day, the way David Goff lets it go in its physical game, it suits Dublin more. I'd be hoping for a dry ball and a dry day for Kerry's sake on Sunday.
And no,
I'm the same for electric picnic.
Who's going to win?
Electric picnic. As long as it's unrain at electric picnic, that's all that matters.
It's going to lash. There's going to be flooding apparently. So
there's a yellow weather warning. So have your wellies.
What's going to happen? Who's going to win?
I would say Dublin by 4 or 5. I think finals are they're a leveller in one regard, but I think they are better than Kerry, and I think they just have too much experience at the minute.
Phil, are you going against the Dubs this stage?
No, I've been at the last 4, and Mayo are the only team that have put it up to Dublin. And the Kerry and Tyrone games, working as a reporter, you kind of knew early enough in the game that you were going to be the shape of your report. Whereas the Mayo ones are still up in the air, and I think that's how I see Sunday going, where Dublin are just going to pull away in the end.
Phil, good stuff. Enjoy the game, whatever happens, lads. Thanks very much for being part of today's show. OTBN with you every weekday morning from Monday to Friday from 7:30 to 9:30. All this week here, we've had some brilliant prizes for you with thanks to our friends at Dominic Smith Expert Electrical in Dundrum as they mark the launch of their new TV and home entertainment showroom, offering the latest TV and home entertainment solutions. Sleek looking, nice bit of kit. 4 of our listeners won a €100 voucher for Dominic Smith Expert Electrical each morning, but today we had the overall prize of a state-of-the-art Sony TV and home entertainment system worth €4,000. It is an amazing prize. Congratulations to Alan Dignam, who was watching OTBAM this morning on Periscope and twitter.com/offtheball. He sent us this All-Ireland final prediction: Dublin 2-17, Kerry 2-15. That would be a good game. Yep. Disappointed for Kerry, obviously. Sorry, Kieran, for your trouble. Dominic Smith Expert Electrical is one of Ireland's leading premium electrical and home entertainment retailers. Good on yourself, Alan Dignam. You are going to be watching a fab TV very soon. That's all from us this morning on OTBAM. Thanks very much for tuning in. There's a wealth of GA content for you up across offtheball.com ahead of the All-Ireland football final. Check out all of our channels and keep an ear on OTB Sports Radio across the weekend. Owen Sheehan's going to be back with you at 7 o'clock tonight. Katie Walsh is the guest on Friday Night Racing, so stay tuned for that. Good luck.
OTB AM. This is OTB Sports Radio.
Join Bruce Betting now for a risk-free first bet